Oxford Reading Tree. The Time Capsule. Series. Biff and Chip were going to the swimming pool with Mom.
"Can we go past the school?"
asked Biff.
"They're building a new classroom. Perhaps we'll see the digger."
Nobody was working the digger. The builders were all looking down into a hole.
"I think they found something,"
said Chip. One builder jumped into the hole with a spade. A moment later, he lifted something up.
"It looks like a metal box,"
said Biff.
"I wonder what's in it." "There might be treasure inside it,"
said Chip.
"Perhaps robbers hid their loot underground."
"You never know," said Mom. "You'll have to ask your teacher about it on Monday." Biff and Chip didn't have to ask about the box on Monday because Mrs. May was waiting to tell the class about it. "The builders found something very interesting this weekend," she said. Mrs. May opened the lid and took out a letter. "Hello, people of the future," she read aloud. "Inside this box, you will find things that tell you all about life in our time. This box is a time capsule," explained Mrs. May. "Some children at our school made it years ago. They buried it so people wouldn't find it for a long time." Inside the box, there was a scrapbook with lots of photos.
"Look how old-fashioned the cars and clothes are,"
said Nadim. There were plastic toys, sweet wrappers, comics, and newspapers in the box too.
"Look at this old newspaper,"
said Biff. "This time capsule was made before your mums and dads were born," said Mrs. May.
"Wow,"
said Chip.
"So when the children buried it, we were the people of the future."
After school, Biff and Chip told the family all about the time capsule.
"Can we make a time capsule and bury it in the garden?"
asked Chip. "That's a great idea," said Mom. Dad went to find a strong container. Mom asked the children what they wanted to put in the time capsule.
"I want to write a letter telling people all about my hobbies,"
said Biff. She went and got a shell from her shell collection to go with her letter. Kipper was looking at the family photos.
"I want a photo of me and Lee to put in the time capsule,"
he said.
"I'd like to tell the people of the future about how we live today,"
said Chip. "Why not use our camera?" said Mom.
"Great,"
said Chip.
"Then I can show them how we live."
Mom showed Chip how to film using the camera.
"What shall I film?"
asked Chip. "Try and show things that people in the future might not know about," said Mom.
"I know. Biff, I'll film you playing football,"
said Chip.
"In the future, sports might be completely different."
They went outside with Biff's football. Biff kicked the ball up once, twice. On the third kick, the ball got stuck in a tree. Chip turned off the camera.
"I don't think the people of the future will want to see that,"
he said. Chip went to find Kipper.
"I'll film you getting Floppy to do his tricks,"
said Chip.
"In the future, people might have different kinds of pets." "Okay," said Chip. "I'm filming now." "Sit, Floppy,"
said Kipper. Floppy looked up at Kipper, but he didn't sit. Then he ran away. Chip turned off the camera and sighed. Chip took the camera inside,
I'll film Dad making dinner, he said. In the future, meals might be completely different.
Chip pointed the camera at Dad.
Tell us what you're making,
he said.
Not now, Chip,
cried Dad.
I left dinner in the oven too long. It's burning.
Smoke was coming from the oven. Dad opened a window to let all the smoke out. A football flew in through the open window and hit him.
Sorry,
shouted Biff from outside. Chip pushed the off button again. When Mom saw what had happened, she said, I'll cycle into town for a takeaway.
I'll film you riding off,
said Chip.
People in the future may not have bikes.
Outside, Mom checked her bike. Sorry, Chip. I'm afraid you can't film my bike. I've got a puncture. Before Chip turned the camera off again, Floppy ran around the corner. Kipper ran after him shouting,
Come back!
He chased Floppy in circles round and round Mom.
What will people in the future make of this?
said Chip, turning the camera off. Later, the family all watched Chip's film on the computer. They laughed at Kipper and Floppy's tricks. They laughed when Biff's football got Dad's shirt muddy. Only Chip was quiet.
Everything went wrong, he said. I wanted to show the people of the future about life in our time.
You have, said Mom. Your film shows life in our family perfectly. The children put a disc with Chip's film into the box with everything else. They closed the box and sealed it up with tape. Mom wrote the date on the outside of the capsule. The children put the time capsule into a hole that Dad had dug in the garden.
I wonder who will find it,
said Biff. Dad started to fill in the hole.
I wonder when anyone will find our time capsule,
said Chip.
It may be hundreds of years from now.
It might not be quite so long, said Mum. She pointed outside. Floppy's just dug up your time capsule. Floppy had the time capsule in his mouth. He was pulling it out of the hole. Kipper ran to the garden.
Floppy, drop it!
He shouted.
Quick, Chip, get the camera,
said Dad.
I'm sure the people of the future will want to see this.
Oxford Reading Tree. Magic Tricks.
Let's play cards,
said Chip. Wilf wanted to show his friends a new magic trick instead. He took a pack of cards from his pocket.
Pick a card,
he said to Biff.
Don't show me your card,
said Wilf. He closed his eyes and put his fingers on his forehead.
Is your card the 8 of clubs?
He asked.
It is,
said Biff.
Wow!
Wilf showed them the other cards.
It's a special pack from my new magic set,
he said.
All of the cards are the same. That's a great trick, Wilf,
said Chip. At that moment, the magic key began to glow.
I wonder where the magic is going to take us now,
said Biff.
I don't know,
said Wilf.
But I'm going to take my trick cards.
The magic took them to the entrance of a fancy old theater.
Why has the magic key brought us here?
asked Chip. Biff pointed to a poster on the wall. The poster was for Marvo the Magnificent.
It says that he is the greatest magician in the whole wide world,
said Wilf.
I wish we could see him.
You can see him,
said a tall man behind the children.
Marvo the Magnificent's show is starting in a few moments.
He pointed towards a door into the theater.
We haven't got tickets,
said Biff. The tall man smiled and clicked his fingers. Suddenly, there were 3 tickets in his hands.
For you,
he said.
Wow,
said Wilf.
Thanks.
There were lots of people in the theater, but the children found 3 empty seats near the stage. As soon as they sat down, the lights went dim.
Ladies and gentlemen,
said a voice in the dark.
Put your hands together for the incredible, the amazing Marvo the Magnificent.
The audience all began to clap.
It's the man we saw before,
said Wilf.
He's Marvo the Magnificent.
Marvo lifted his top hat and gave a bow to the audience.
Prepare to be amazed and astounded,
Marvo said with a smile. There was a flash of light and a bird flew out of his top hat.
Wow,
said Wilf. Marvo had been right. His magic tricks were amazing and astounding. After every trick, the children asked each other,
How did he do that?
For my next trick,
said Marvo,
I need a volunteer from the audience.
Lots of people in the crowd put up their hands, but Marvo pointed right at Biff. When Biff came on stage, Marvo said,
Please tell us what is in your pocket.
A key,
said Biff. She put one hand into her pocket, but there was no key.
Are you looking for this?
asked Marvo with a smile. There was a puff of smoke as Marvo pulled something from the top hat.
The key,
said Biff in surprise. The audience clapped and cheered. Marvo gave another bow and said,
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and good night.
Then he walked quickly off the stage.
That was fantastic,
said Wilf.
I wish I could do magic tricks like that. It was good,
agreed Chip.
But why isn't the magic key taking us home now?
Biff pulled out the key from her pocket and stared at it.
Wait a minute,
she said.
There's something different about this key. It isn't the magic key. Marvo must have heard us talking about the magic key,
said Chip.
He gave us the tickets because he was planning to get it. He swapped the keys when you were on stage. We can't go home without the magic key,
said Chip unhappily.
Don't worry,
said Biff.
We're going to find Marvo and get our key back. Come on!
They found Marvo the Magnificent sitting in a little dressing room behind the stage.
You tricked us,
said Biff crossly.
Now we want our key back.
Marvo did not give them the key.
The world's only magic key should be mine,
he said.
I am the greatest magician in the world, after all. It says so on my poster.
Wilf could feel the pack of cards in his pocket.
What if I can fool you with a magic trick?
He said.
Then will you give us the key?
Marvo just smiled.
If you can fool me, of course I will give you the key. But you won't be able to fool me. I am Marvo the Magnificent.
Wilf took the cards out of his pocket.
Pick a card,
he told Marvo. With a confident grin, Marvo pulled one card from the pack.
Is your card the 8 of clubs?
Wilf asked him.
Of course it is,
Said Marvo.
but that trick didn't fool me. Every card in that pack is the same. Let me see.
Marvo plucked the pack of cards from Wilf's hands. The magician turned the cards over. Then he gasped in surprise. All of the cards were different.
But how?
He asked. Wilf did not know either. He was just as surprised.
Now, where's our key?
Asked Biff. Before Marvo could answer, the key started glowing inside the top hat. Biff grabbed it.
Goodbye, Marvo the not-so-magnificent,
she said. At home, Wilf said,
I see what happened. I must have picked up your cards instead of my trick pack. So, how did you guess Marvo's card correctly?
Asked Chip.
Maybe I was just really lucky,
said Wilf.
Or maybe the key helped you,
suggested Biff. Wilf looked at the key.
Wow,
he said.
Now that's magic.
Oxford Reading Tree. Holiday in Japan. Series created by Roderick Hunt and Alex Brichta. Dad had gone to London for an important meeting. He called Mom and sounded very excited.
Guess where I am going?
He said.
To Japan.
Dad's going to Japan,
Kipper told Gran.
A company in Tokyo wants to use the machine that Dad's company has invented. Dad has to show it to them.
Gran knows,
said Dad.
I do,
said Gran.
I've had a good idea. I'll pay for you all to fly to Tokyo.
Wow,
said Biff.
Thank you. You are the best Gran in the world.
It was a long flight to Tokyo. It took over 12 hours.
It's halfway round the world,
said Biff. I'll be glad to get there, said Mom. You've all slept, but I haven't. Mr. Yamada met them at the airport. His wife Yoko and daughter Rio were with him.
We are glad the children came with you,
said Mr. Yamada.
Welcome to Japan,
said Rio shyly. Rio was learning English, said Yoko. You look really pretty, Rio, said Mom. Is your dress called a kimono?
It's my summer kimono,
said Rio.
It's called a yukata.
Now let's go to your hotel,
said Mr. Yamada.
Tokyo is a very busy city. It will take us about an hour to get there.
They were amazed when they saw the hotel. It was very tall.
Your rooms are near the top,
said Mr. Yamada.
Tomorrow, Yoko and Rio will be happy to take you sightseeing.
Biff and Chip took pictures of their hotel bedroom and sent them to Gran.
It's an amazing room,
said Chip.
We can see for miles across the city.
The next day, Yoko and Rio took Mom and the children sightseeing. The streets were very busy. Stay close to us, said Yoko. You don't want to get lost. They came to a huge toy store.
Whoa, wow,
said Kipper.
Can we go in?
Not now, laughed Yoko. It has 5 floors. We'd never get you out. They went to see a beautiful temple. It is the oldest temple in Tokyo. said Yoko.
It's lovely,
said Chip. Paper lanterns hung at the entrance. People stood in front of the temple to pray.
Who are the men in robes?
Asked Kipper. They are monks, said Yoko. There were little shops near the temple.
Look at these lovely fans,
said Biff.
Let's buy one for Gran.
That's a good idea, said Mum. It's time for lunch, said Yoko. These are called bento boxes. Do you think you can use chopsticks?
The food looks such fun,
said Kipper.
And I'll try to eat with chopsticks.
At last, it was time to go back to the hotel. But on the way to the station, they lost Yoko and Rio. Oh, dear, said Mum. We had better try and find the station by ourselves. Which way do we go? Said Mum. At that moment, some school children stopped. They were excited about Kipper's fair hair.
Do you speak English?
Asked Kipper. Is it this way or that way? Said Mum.
Don't worry, Mum,
said Kipper.
My new friends will take us to the station. We use the train every day,
they said. They found Yoko and Rio at the station. Thank goodness you found your way here, said Yoko.
Thanks to my new friends, I'm going to write to them when I get home,
said Kipper. The next day, the family set off on the bullet train to go to Kyoto. Rio and her parents came to see them off.
Wow, look at the train,
said Biff.
It goes at 300 kilometers an hour.
On the train, the conductor inspected tickets. When she got to the children, she smiled and pointed out of the window. You are lucky today, she said. Biff looked out and gasped. In the distance was Mount Fuji.
We are lucky,
said Dad.
It's a clear day. It's not often you can see it.
The mountain was capped with snow.
It's an amazing shape,
said Biff.
It is an...
In Kyoto, the hotel was different. It was a traditional Japanese inn.
I love the bedroom,
said Biff.
It is so different from the other hotel. We must take lots of pictures to show Gran.
We are going to sleep on these mats called tatami mats,
said Dad. But on mattresses, said Mum. And there's a wooden bath. It's to soak in. You must shower before you use it. It was time to explore Kyoto.
Kyoto used to be the capital city of Japan,
said Dad.
One of its most beautiful buildings is the Golden Pavilion.
Oh, wow! It really is beautiful. Can we go inside?
Asked Kipper. I don't know, said Mum. A lady with a dog heard what Mum had said. It is not possible to go inside, she said. Do you know that it is covered in real gold? In a part of the garden was a pot. The kind lady told them it was lucky to throw coins in it. May you always have good luck, she said. At last, it was time to fly home.
I'll never forget our holiday in Japan,
said Kipper.
We are lucky to have seen all those places in Tokyo and Kyoto,
said Biff. Gran met them at the airport.
We have had a wonderful holiday,
said Biff.
We can't wait to tell you all about it. Thank you so much, Gran.
The children spoke to Rio online.
We still remember the Japanese you taught us, Rio,
said Chip.
Arigato! Thank you!
Biff, Chip, and Kipper all said together. Oxford Reading Tree. A Tall Tale. Series. Uncle Max came for a visit. He brought presents for Biff, Chip, and Kipper.
These shells are from the other side of the world,
he told them. The children always loved to hear Uncle Max's stories. When they were ready for bed, he agreed to tell them all about his latest adventures.
Since I last saw you, I have been looking for adventure on the high seas.
Uncle Max began.
What happened?
Asked Kipper.
What did you see? Was it dangerous?
Well, one time I went for a swim and was surrounded by huge stinging jellyfish.
Uncle Max smiled.
Do you know what I did?
Not really,
said Kipper.
I had a brilliant idea,
said Uncle Max.
I pulled out a spoon and shouted, Yum yum jelly for tea. All the jellyfish swam off when they heard that.
Wow,
said Biff.
But why did you have a spoon with you?
You never know when you might need a spoon,
said Uncle Max.
Another time, a hungry shark wanted to eat me when I was diving for treasure.
He continued.
So, do you know what I did?
I'm not sure,
said Kipper.
Luckily, I had another brilliant idea,
said Uncle Max.
I scared that shark off with a sword.
You had a sword with you?
Asked Biff in surprise.
Not a real sword,
said Uncle Max.
There was swordfish swimming past, so I used that.
Wow,
said Kipper.
Is that possible?
Asked Chip.
You'd be surprised what can happen at sea,
Uncle Max said.
Once
He stopped and pointed at the light in the corner.
Why is that key glowing?
He asked.
It does that when it's taking us on an adventure,
said Biff. Uncle Max had no time to ask any more questions. The magic took them all away. It took them to a little boat in the middle of the sea. Uncle Max looked at the water all around them.
What on earth's going on?
He asked. The children told him all about the magic key.
We go on lots of exciting adventures,
said Biff.
Just like you, Uncle Max,
said Kipper. A dark shape passed under the boat. It wasn't just big, it was enormous.
What was that?
Asked Chip nervously.
I'm not sure,
said Uncle Max. A huge whale's tail burst out of the water. It towered high above them.
Come on, Uncle Max,
said Kipper.
You must have a brilliant idea to escape.
Before Uncle Max could answer, the enormous tail slapped down on the water right next to the boat. Splash! It made a huge wave that carried the boat away. The boat zoomed off, riding along the top of the wave.
This is just like one of your stories, Uncle Max,
shouted Chip. Uncle Max gripped the sides of the boat. Another huge shape rose from the water in front of them.
An even bigger whale,
shouted Biff.
Have you got a brilliant idea yet, Uncle Max?
Kipper asked.
Not just yet,
said Uncle Max. He didn't have time to say anything else. The whale's open mouth was like a huge cave. and they were rushing towards it.
Hold on tight,
shouted Biff. The boat rushed into the whale's enormous mouth, along with seawater, seaweed, and lots of silver fish. Everything went dark. They stopped in a big, gloomy place.
We must be in the whale's tummy,
said Biff. Uncle Max looked around and shook his head.
That's not possible,
he said.
Is it?
Kipper gave Uncle Max a hopeful look.
How about now?
He asked.
Any brilliant ideas for how to get out?
No,
groaned Uncle Max. He looked soggy and miserable. For a long time, the only noise was the gurgling of the whale's tummy. Suddenly, Uncle Max jumped up.
Wait, I have got an idea,
he shouted.
And it's a brilliant one.
He began to rock the boat from side to side.
Join in,
he told the children.
If we do it enough, I'm sure it will make the whale burp.
There was a rumbling noise all around.
I think it's working,
said Kipper. Biff gripped the sides of the boat.
We'd better hold on tight again,
she said. Just then, Biff spotted a bright light. The magic key was glowing at last.
Don't worry,
she said.
There's a much easier way out of here.
The next moment, they all were safely back in Biff's bedroom. Uncle Max blinked. He looked around the room, rubbed his eyes, and blinked again. He scratched his head.
Sorry, children,
he said.
I think I fell asleep for a moment. I had the strangest dream.
Biff slipped the magic key into her pocket. Uncle Max noticed something.
How on earth did this tiny bit of seaweed get on my sleeve?
He asked. The children glanced at each other and grinned. Uncle Max held the seaweed between his fingers.
Actually, this reminds me of the time I had a tickling competition with a giant octopus,
he said.
Wow, that sounds amazing,
said Biff.
What did you do?
Luckily, I had a brilliant idea,
said Uncle Max.
Can you guess what?
Not really,
said Kipper happily.
Well,
said Uncle Max.
Earlier that day, I had made friends with an electric eel.
The children snuggled down to enjoy one more tall tale before bedtime. Oxford Reading Tree. The Portrait Problem. Series created by The children in Mrs. May's class were painting. They had to do a portrait. I want you to paint someone's face, said Mrs. May. First, I will explain how to do it. Mrs. May drew an oval face. She drew 3 lines across it and put 1 line down the middle. The eyes are halfway down. The top of the ears are level with the eyes, she said. Chip was good at painting. He had painted a portrait of Anina.
It's brilliant, said Nadim. It looks just like Anina.
Mrs. May put the finished portraits on the wall.
Mine is rubbish,
complained Wilf.
No, it's not,
said Biff.
You just haven't got the ears quite right.
Chip had a sketchbook. He had done a sketch of Mrs. May. It's quite good, smiled Mrs. May. To get even better, you need to practice. Try to draw as often as you can. Wilf and Nadim went to play with Chip. Chip's sketchbook was in Biff's room. He had done a sketch of Nadim.
I'd like to be an artist when I grow up,
said Chip.
I'll keep this, said Nadim, in case you become a famous artist one day.
Suddenly, the magic key began to glow. The magic took the children on a new adventure. The magic took the children back in time to a city in Italy called Florence.
I wonder why the key has brought us here,
said Chip. Just then, they heard shouting. A man was at an open window. He was shouting at some men in the street.
"But, sir,"
called one of the men,
"your picture is too big to go down the stairs."
"We could knock the staircase down,"
said another man.
"But why not just cut 6 inches off one end of the painting?"
"Impossible,"
yelled the man.
"I'm sure these children have more sense than you."
He pointed at Wilf, Chip, and Nadim.
"Children,"
he shouted,
"I am Sandro Botticelli, the artist. Come up to my studio and tell me which end to cut off my picture. It has taken me 2 years to paint it. This picture is called Spring,"
said Sandro.
"Do you like it?"
Chip gasped.
It's a famous painting,
he whispered.
I've seen it in a book.
Nadim was looking at the window.
There's no need to take the staircase down, he said. Knock out the window frame and lower the painting into the street.
"Huh,"
said Sandro, clapping his hands.
"Bravo! Children often know best." "You want to be an artist too?"
Sandro asked, looking at Chip's drawings.
"You need to work hard and draw all the time. You must look and study what you see." "See, I am painting a portrait of a young man,"
Sandro went on.
"I want you to help me. Put on this tunic so I can copy the folds in it."
Suddenly, there was a loud thumping noise, and the house began to shake. The jars and pots began to rattle. Some fell onto the floor with a crash.
Is it an earthquake?
Gasped Chip.
"Ah,"
groaned Sandro.
"I cannot work like this. The man next door is a weaver. His looms make the walls shake." "Go next door. Please beg him to stop shaking my house,"
Sandro pleaded.
"He will not listen to me, but maybe he will listen to you."
The weaver came to the door.
Your looms are shaking the house of Sandro the artist,
said Nadim.
He cannot paint his pictures.
The weaver showed them his looms.
"I weave fine cloth,"
he said.
"It is how I earn my living, and in my own house I can do what I please."
Sandro the artist paints beautiful pictures. He paints fine portraits,
said Chip.
That is his job.
"Bah, weaving cloth is a proper job,"
the weaver replied.
"What did he say?"
asked Sandro.
In his own house, he can do as he pleases,
said Wilf.
"So,"
said Sandro.
"I need to teach him a lesson. Wait here."
Later, Sandro returned with some workmen. They had ropes and long, thick poles of wood. On a cart was an enormous stone. The men built a strong frame. Then they pulled the boulder onto the edge of Sandro's roof.
"Place it on the very edge,"
Sandro ordered.
It doesn't look very safe,
said Wilf. Sandro rubbed his hands.
"No, it is not safe,"
he said.
"We will see what happens when the weaver's looms start working."
The weaver's looms began to shake Sandro's house. The enormous stone shook as well. It began to move.
What are you doing?
Cried the weaver.
The stone is unsafe. Remove it. It will fall onto my house. It will crash through my roof.
He wailed.
Well,
said Sandro,
in my own house, I can do what I please.
Nadim had an idea. He spoke to the weaver.
Let the artist paint a portrait of you wearing a cloak of your fine cloth. Rich people will see it and want to buy it from you. Why not work at different times?
Nadim added.
Then you will both be happy.
The two men shook hands. The weaver agreed to work in the mornings. The artist agreed to work in the afternoons.
That was clever, Nadim,
said Wilf. Sandro began the portrait of the weaver at once. He gave Chip one of his sketches. Then the magic key began to glow.
It was funny when the stone on the roof began to shake,
laughed Wilf.
I wonder if the portrait of the weaver will be in that book I saw at school,
said Chip.
This is a really good portrait,
said Mrs. May.
Did you draw it?
No, Sandro Botticelli did,
said Chip.
Very funny, Chip,
said Mrs. May. Oxford Reading Tree. Detective Adventure. Series created by Roderick Hund and Alex Brichta. It was book week. The children all went as characters from books they had read. Biff and Chip looked exactly the same.
Can you tell who we are?
Asked Biff.
I know,
said Anina.
You are the twin detectives in the Tintin books. You look good,
said Chip.
But who are you?
I am Sherlock Holmes, the famous detective,
said Anina.
No crime is too hard for him to solve.
Biff laughed.
Sorry, Anina, I've never heard of him.
After school, Anina went to play with Biff. She had a book about Sherlock Holmes.
I love detective stories,
Anina said.
I want to be a detective one day.
Just then, Mum called Biff. I'm putting the washing machine on, she said. Biff took a pile of clothes down for Mum to wash. While she was gone, the magic key glowed. Anina found herself outside a grand house.
Oh no,
she said.
I'm not sure I want an adventure by myself.
Suddenly, a carriage raced up to the front door. A man jumped out. He had a coat and hat like Anina's.
Who are you?
The man demanded.
I'm a detective,
said Anina.
You look far too young. When I sent for an assistant, I expected someone older. Well, come on. We have a crime to solve.
The man ran into the house. A police officer was standing by the door.
Ah, Mr. Holmes,
he said.
Inspector Lees is waiting for you.
The crime took place in the ballroom,
said Inspector Lees.
No one has left the room since the theft took place.
The theft of what?
Said Holmes.
A diamond necklace,
the inspector said. 2 more police officers stood at the door of a large ballroom. A crowd of people were standing inside. A woman was crying.
Lord and Lady Tuckup are having a party for very rich and famous people,
said Inspector Lees.
The Duchess of Almond is here. She was wearing her diamond necklace.
Worth millions, I'm sure,
added Holmes.
At 10 o'clock,
Said Lise.
the lights went out. They came on again almost at once, and no one could have left the ballroom. Yet the necklace had been stolen. 2 of my men were at the door all evening.
The inspector went on.
No one has been allowed to move from the spot since the robbery took place.
Has everyone been searched?
Asked Holmes.
Yes, and we have searched every part of the room.
Said Lise.
The necklace has not been found. It is a mystery.
The person who took the necklace must have been standing near the Duchess,
Said Holmes.
The maid was standing next to the Duchess,
Said Lise.
but it couldn't have been her. She was holding a huge tray of empty glasses.
Said Lise.
I'm still holding it,
Said the maid.
May I put it down now, please? It has been over an hour.
The maid took the tray to a table outside the ballroom. On the way, she dropped a glass. Quickly, she picked up the broken bits and threw them in a bin.
Take everyone to the library, Inspector,
Said Holmes.
Don't let anyone out of your sight. My assistant and I will look for clues. Then we will question each person again.
Anina and Holmes looked round the empty ballroom. Said Holmes.
This beats me. No one could have left the ballroom with the necklace. So, where is it now?
Anina looked round the other room. She peered into the bin with the broken glass. At the bottom was a tennis ball with a split in it.
How odd to find that,
She said to herself. In the library, Holmes questioned the maid.
It was not me, sir,
She said.
I was holding a tray of glasses at the time, and I've been searched.
At that moment, Anina ran in. She was holding a tray of glasses.
Stop!
Cried Anina.
The maid is the thief. Don't let her go. She stole the necklace. I know how she did it.
Anina said. They searched the maid again. The necklace was in her pocket.
But
Guessed the inspector.
we searched her before. She didn't have the necklace.
So how did she get the necklace out of the room?
Asked Holmes.
In this tennis ball.
Anina said.
She quickly pushed the necklace into the split ball and threw it. In the dark, the ball flew over the heads of the police officers. It landed softly in the room behind them. It ended up near the table.
I see.
Guessed Holmes.
She dropped the glass so that she could pick the ball up. Then she took the necklace out of the ball and dropped the ball in the bin.
All the glasses were stuck to the tray except the one that she dropped,
Said Anina.
So she could put the tray down quickly, leaving her hands free to steal the necklace.
Said Holmes. The maid began to cry.
You must have been working with someone who could turn the lights off.
Lise said to her.
Who was it?
It was the butler, sobbed the maid.
I did a good job solving this case for you,
Said Holmes.
I caught the thief.
Anina looked at Holmes and guessed, but the key began to glow.
Sorry, Anina.
Said Biff, coming back into the room.
Don't worry,
Said Anina.
I've been finding out more about Sherlock Holmes.
Oxford Reading Tree. A Sea Mystery. Series created by Roderick Hund and Alex.
It's the last day of the holiday,
Said Kipper.
I've seen something I want to buy before we go home.
Kipper took Biff and Chip to an old shop. Inside, it looked dark and dusty. In the window was a model of a fishing boat.
I want to buy that boat,
said Kipper. The shop was full of things for boats. An old man sat in the corner.
Excuse me,
said Chip.
We'd like to buy the model boat. How?
It's not for sale,
said the old man.
That boat is a model of my great-grandfather's fishing boat. It was made after he was lost at sea.
What happened to him?
asked Biff.
No one knows,
said the old man.
One day, he went to sea in his boat, and he never came back.
The old man began to cough.
Now, go away. I want to shut the shop,
he said. Kipper was upset.
He wasn't a very nice man,
he said. Never mind, Kipper, said Mum. I'll buy you an ice lolly to cheer you up. The children sat on the seawall eating their lollies. Suddenly, they heard a cough. It was the old man. He was holding a little model rowing boat.
What do you want?
asked Biff nervously.
I am sorry I was rude,
said the old man.
I've bought you a present.
He gave Kipper the little boat.
It's from the model you liked,
he said. The little boat was made of wood. It looked very real. It even had a little pair of oars.
Oh, thank you,
said Kipper. He looked up, but the old man had gone.
It's time to go home, I'm afraid,
said Dad.
Did you see where the old man went?
asked Chip.
What old man?
asked Dad. When they got home, the children went to Biff's room. They wanted to play with the model boat.
Oh,
said Chip.
I've broken off an oar.
Just then, the key began to glow. The children landed in water. The magic had taken them out to sea.
Where are we?
yelled Biff.
I'm scared,
said Kipper.
I'm not a very good swimmer.
Suddenly, the oar splashed into the sea next to them.
Hold on to the oar,
said Biff.
It will keep us afloat.
The children held on to the oar. They floated for a long time.
There's nothing but sea,
said Biff.
I don't like this adventure,
said Chip. It began to get foggy. Then they saw a strange shape through the fog. It was getting bigger and bigger.
Now I'm scared,
said Biff. A sailing boat came out of the fog. It drifted towards the children.
Over here,
shouted Chip.
Help,
yelled Kipper.
I can't see anyone,
said Biff. As the boat got near, Chip saw a rope hanging into the water.
Tie the rope to the oar, then we can climb on board,
said Chip. They climbed up onto the boat.
Phew,
said Kipper.
That was scary.
Let's find the crew, said Biff.
They can tell us where we are.
They looked around. On deck, there were nets and baskets of fish. There was an open hatch leading down into the boat.
Maybe they're down below,
said Chip. The children went down into a large cabin. It was lit by lamps. There was a big table in the middle of the cabin. The table was set for dinner. In the corner, a big pot of stew was bubbling away on a stove. On the table, there were 5 mugs of hot tea.
This is strange,
said Biff.
There's nobody on board.
There has to be,
said Chip.
Why would the food be hot?
And who lit the lamps?
Asked Kipper. Suddenly, there was a loud crash above them. The boat shook. The children ran up on deck. The fog had gone. It was windy.
The crash must have been the sail,
said Biff.
It has caught the wind.
The boat's turned around,
said Chip. The boat started to move quickly.
I'll try to steer it,
said Biff.
Good,
said Chip.
I'll tie down the sail. Kipper, go to the front and look out.
Look out!
Shouted Kipper.
Rocks! Hold on!
Shouted Biff. She turned the wheel hard. Chip fell over, but the boat missed the rocks.
That was close!
Yelled Kipper. The boat sailed on. Suddenly, Kipper saw a little rowing boat. In it were 2 men and a boy. They were waving.
Help us!
They shouted.
We can't row. We've only got 1 oar.
Chip pulled up the oar. He threw it to the men. They caught the oar. Then the men rowed to the boat and climbed on.
Who are you?
Asked Biff.
I'm Captain Turbot. This is Flounder, and the boy's called Shrimp.
Said the captain.
This is our boat, the Barnacle.
What happened to you?
Asked Kipper.
We were about to eat,
said Flounder.
Shrimp was pulling up the last net when we struck a rock and he fell in. We got in the boat to help him,
said the captain.
But we only had 1 oar. We couldn't row back.
Where did you find our oar?
Asked Shrimp.
It's a mystery,
said the captain.
We always keep the oars in the rowing boat.
Chip thought about the model.
It is a mystery,
he said. Suddenly, the magic key began to glow. The magic took them back to Biff's room.
Oh no,
said Kipper.
We left the oar.
They looked at the model boat. It had both its oars.
It's a mystery,
said Chip. Oxford Reading Tree. The Riddle Stone. Part 1. Series created by Roderick Hunt and Alex Brichta. Dad had pulled up some floorboards.
Hello,
he said.
What's this?
Under the floor was a stone. It had some strange writing on it. Dad was going to throw the stone away, but Chip wanted to keep it.
Look at this,
he said to Biff.
Do you think the writing is Chinese?
I don't know,
said Biff. Chip took the stone to school. He showed it to a boy called Hong.
It is written in Chinese,
said Hong.
I can't read it, but my grandfather can.
Hong's grandfather always came after school to take Hong home. Chip showed him the stone.
Yes, it is Chinese,
said Hong's grandfather.
It says, do you mind?
What a strange question,
said Biff.
It may be a riddle,
said Hong's grandfather.
See, the stone is broken. Maybe the answer is on the other half.
Chip gave Hong the stone to keep. He put it in his bag.
May Hong come round to play with us?
Asked Biff.
All right,
said Hong's grandfather. They went to play in Biff's room.
What is a riddle?
asked Chip.
It's a puzzle in words, said Hong. Here is a good riddle,
said Hong.
How do you spell hungry horse using only 4 letters?
We don't know,
said Biff.
It's easy, laughed Hong. MTGG. Here's another riddle. What is this? The more it dries, the more it gets wet.
Suddenly, the magic key began to glow. The magic took them to a rocky valley. 4 paths met. There was a signpost pointing 4 ways. Each way pointed to Riddle Mountain. A boy was sitting on a rock.
My name is Ty,
he said.
I want to go to Riddle Mountain, but I don't know which path to take. I can't think of the answer to this riddle.
The riddle was on a tall post. It said, "It's only one color, but it can grow. Sticks to your feet wherever you go. They're in the sun, not in the rain. Never does harm, never feels pain."
The answer is a shadow,
said Hong.
Look at the shadow of the post. It points up that path. That must be the way.
Are you sure?
asked Biff.
Yes, it's a riddle,
said Ty.
Let's go. It is hard to get to Riddle Mountain,
said Ty.
It will be dangerous. I may never get there.
Then why do you have to go?
asked Biff.
I want to be the riddle maker,
said Ty.
I have to get to Riddle Mountain. I have to answer all the riddles on the way. The last riddle is the hardest. No one has ever found the answer.
Suddenly, a huge giant stood in the way.
I hope he's friendly,
said Chip.
Answer this riddle and you can pass by,
roared the giant.
Write down how much I weigh,
he said.
But he must weigh tons,
said Biff.
No, it's a riddle,
said Hong.
I can do it.
He wrote down the answer.
Good luck in the land of riddles,
said the giant.
What did you write down?
asked Chip.
I wrote the words, how much I weigh,
said Hong. It was not far to the top of the hill. Suddenly, a dragon stood in the way.
I hope he's friendly,
said Hong.
Look,
said Biff.
There are bubbles coming out of his mouth.
The dragon spoke.
Over there is Riddle Mountain,
it said.
You have a long way to go.
Help,
said Ty.
The journey looks dangerous.
Below was a black lake. Across the lake, the land was dry and rocky. Beyond, there was a deep river and dark forest. Far away was a tall gray mountain. Huge bubbles came out of the dragon's jaws.
Answer this riddle,
it said.
How many sides does a bubble have?
That's easy,
said Hong.
It has 2. The inside and the outside,
he said.
Good,
said the dragon.
Now step inside this bubble.
Hong stepped into the bubble. It began to float away.
Step into a bubble,
yelled Hong. They all stepped inside the bubbles and floated up and up.
This is scary,
said Biff.
What if the bubbles pop?
They floated on and on. At last, they began to float down to the black lake.
I hope the bubbles don't pop here,
yelled Chip. Then the bubbles popped, and the children fell into the lake. Suddenly, a huge serpent rose out of the water.
I don't like this adventure,
said Biff.
What is this?
said the serpent.
The more it dries, the more it gets wet.
It's easy,
said Hong.
It's a towel.
Good,
said the serpent.
Now climb on my back.
The serpent swam across the lake.
How do you know the answer to all these riddles, Hong?
asked Tai.
I don't know,
said Hong.
They just come to me.
Goblins were waiting for the children. They pulled and pinched them.
Ouch! That hurts,
said Chip.
Ha! You won't answer the next riddle,
said one of the goblins. The goblins put the children in a cage. One of the goblins stole the magic key.
Oh no,
said Biff.
Now we can't get back from this adventure.
The Goblin King spoke to them.
Answer this,
he said.
How do you want to die?
We don't want to die,
said Chip. Hong began to laugh.
It's not funny,
said Biff.
We don't want to die.
It's a riddle,
said Hong.
Don't worry, I know the answer.
Oxford Reading Tree. The Riddle Stone. Part 2. Series. Have you read Part 1? The Goblin King looked at the children. His small eyes glinted, and he snapped his long, thin fingers.
How do you want to die?
He asked.
We want to die of old age,
said Hong.
Grrr, that is the right answer,
said the Goblin King.
So I must let you go.
He opened the door of the cage.
Brilliant,
said Chip.
But how did you know the right answer? I don't know,
said Hong.
I just did. Let's find the next riddle,
said Tai.
The goblins still have the magic key,
said Biff.
We must get it back.
Give us back our key,
said Chip.
No,
said a goblin.
we won't.
Give it back,
shouted Chip.
Make us,
called the goblins. Hong had an idea. He spoke to the Goblin King.
We will ask you a riddle,
Hong said.
You must give us back the key if you can't answer it.
All right,
said the Goblin King.
what is the riddle?
Hong wrote in the sand, 1 + 1 = 6.
Make this work by drawing a straight line,
he said. The goblins scratched their heads. At last they said,
We can't do it.
Hong put a line on the plus.
1 and 1 and 4 add up to 6,
said Hong.
Very clever,
said the Goblin King, and he gave Biff the key. The children went on. At last, they came to a flat desert. There were strange shapes in the sky. Suddenly, the shapes flew down and whizzed over the children's heads.
Ouch! That one hit me,
said Tai. The flying shapes were kites. The kites dived at the children.
What is the answer to this riddle?
Shouted the kite flying.
I can be cracked, I can be played, I can be told, and I can be made. What am I?
I know this one, said Hong. The answer is a joke.
The kite flyer let them pass, but next they came to a wide river.
We can never cross this,
Said Chip.
It's too deep and dangerous.
Then they saw an old man on a raft.
I will take you across,
Said the old man.
but first answer this riddle. I have 7 children. Half of them are boys. How can this be?
I know the answer,
Said Hong.
all your children are boys.
That is right.
Said the old man.
I will take you across the river.
How do you know the answer to all the riddles?
Tai asked Hong.
I don't know.
Said Hong.
The answers just come to me.
The children came to a dark, gloomy forest. The trees were bent and twisted.
What a scary place,
Said Biff.
I can see eyes looking at us.
Suddenly, wolves sprang out of the trees. They had red eyes and long, sharp white teeth.
They're after us.
Yelled Chip.
Run!
The children ran fast, but the wolves were faster.
Quick!
Yelled Biff.
Climb a tree!
The children climbed quickly, but Hong was a bit slow. A wolf sprang up at him. The wolf snapped at Hong. It sank its teeth into his bag and pulled it off his back.
Help!
Yelled Hong. Then a strange woman came out of the trees. The wolves ran up to her. The wolf woman told the wolves to sit. She told the children to climb down. The wolf woman picked up Hong's bag, but she gave it to Tai. Answer this riddle, she said. It lives half its life. It dies half its life. It dances to no music. It drinks with no mouth. This time, Tai knew the answer.
That's easy,
He said.
it's a tree.
Good, said the wolf woman. The next riddle is at Riddle Mountain. No one has ever got it right. The children went on. Then Biff said,
Hong has known the answers to all the riddles, but not the last one. Why?
I don't know.
said Hong.
It's strange,
Said Biff. But now they were at Riddle Mountain. At the top was a cave,
The last riddle will be up there.
said Tai.
Come on.
They climbed up to the cave,
What a climb.
said Chip.
I'm tired. Let's have a rest.
Said Tai. The children sat down. Tai took off Hong's bag. Suddenly, the ground began to shake. A stone statue rose up out of the earth. The statue opened its hand and spoke.
Who answers this riddle will be the riddle maker.
It said.
This is the riddle.
Said the statue.
If the answer I give is yes, but what I mean is no, then what is the question?
Everyone looked at Hong.
I don't know the answer,
Said Hong.
Neither do I,
said Ty sadly.
We've failed,
Said Biff.
Wait,
Said Chip.
I have an idea. Where is that stone with the Chinese writing?
He asked.
It's in my bag,
Said Hong.
Ty knew the wolf woman's riddle, and he had Hong's bag,
Said Biff.
Maybe whoever has the stone can answer riddles,
Said Chip. Ty took the stone out of the bag.
I know the answer to the question,
he said.
It is, do you mind?
Ty put the stone in the statue's hand,
It is the right answer.
said the statue.
You are the new riddle maker.
Just then, the magic key began to glow. The adventure was over.
So we knew the answer all along,
Said Chip.
It was on the stone. Well, I didn't want to be the riddle maker,
Said Hong.
did you?
No,
Said Biff.
and I never want to hear another riddle.
Oxford Reading Tree. The Power Cut. Series. The family was going on holiday. They were taking Biff and Chip. Mom and Dad were busy packing the car,
Will you pack these for us, please?
asked Wilma.
There will be lots to do.
Said Dad.
You won't need those.
We will.
Said Wilf.
We must take the game station. I've got a great new game. We want to watch these films,
Said Wilma.
We haven't seen some of them yet. And can we take the CD player?
Asked Biff. It was a long journey. It took hours. They stopped for a break. Let's get a drink, said Mum.
Can we play a game in the arcade first?
Asked Wilf. At last, they arrived at the cottage.
We're in the middle of a forest,
Said Wilf.
We're in the middle of nowhere,
Said Wilma. They went inside the cottage. Mom and Dad began to unpack the car. There was a big television in the front room.
Great,
Said Chip.
let's watch TV. We could play some games,
Said Wilf.
Could you bring in our games station, Dad?
Not now.
Said Dad.
Come and help us unpack the car.
At breakfast, Wilma put on a film. Dad sighed.
Get dressed, everyone. We didn't come on holiday to watch TV.
Can we watch this first?
Asked Wilma.
Later.
Said Dad.
Let's go out.
Wasn't it fun on the beach today? Said Mum. But nobody said anything. Wilf and Biff were busy playing a game. Chip and Wilma were listening to a CD. Suddenly, all the lights went out. The television and the CD player went off.
What's happened?
Called Biff. Dad came in with a torch.
There's been a power cut.
He said. Mum found a lamp.
What if the power doesn't come back on?
Asked Chip, looking at the TV.
We'll have to do without it.
Said Dad.
Oh no!
Oh no,
Said the children. The power didn't come back on.
It may be off for a long time.
Said Dad. It was time to eat. They all sat round the table and had supper by candlelight. It was fun eating in the dark. They took it in turns to tell stories. Dad told them a funny story about a time when he was a little boy. It made them all laugh. That night, the power didn't come back on. The children had to use the lamp to go to bed. Chip made a shadow on the wall with his hands.
Guess what it is?
He said. Wilma shone a torch under her chin. The light made her face look scary.
Ooh,
She said.
I'm a monster.
Everyone laughed. Then Mom came in and said it was time to go to sleep. The next morning, there was still no power, so the family spent all day on the beach. They played lots of games. It's late, said Mom. It's time to go.
Can't we stay a bit longer?
Asked Wilf.
I've got an idea,
Said Dad.
Let's build a fire. We could cook supper.
Brilliant!
They all shouted. Let's get some driftwood, said Mom.
I'll go and get the food.
Said Dad. It was getting dark by the time the fire was finished. Hey, Wilf, that looks like a giant bird's nest, said Mom. You light it, not lay an egg in it. Dad cooked lots of food on the fire. Then Mom toasted some marshmallows. They all sat and looked at the stars.
I have a surprise,
said Dad.
Sparklers. Sorry,
said Dad the next morning.
Still no power.
We can do without it.
Smiled Chip.
Last night was magic,
said Wilf.
What shall we do tonight?
Asked Biff. That night, Wilma had a good idea.
We could play hide and seek,
She said.
If you are it, you have a torch.
Everyone hid around the dark cottage. Wilf was it. He counted to 100. Wilf looked in every room.
Found you, Biff!
He called. Biff was hiding behind a big plant. He found Chip lying in the bath. Wilma was behind the TV. Mom was under a bed. But where was Dad? Suddenly, the moon came out from behind the clouds. It lit up the windows. Dad was hiding behind the curtains.
That gives me an idea,
thought Wilma. The next day, Biff, Chip, and Wilf went with Wilma to the woods.
Why have we brought the boxes and a sheet?
Asked Chip.
And why are we here so early?
Yawned Wilf.
There's loads to do before tonight.
Wilma's eyes sparkled.
This evening, we are going to do a shadow play.
Brilliant,
said Chip.
What's that?
The children worked all day. They cut out shapes from the cardboard boxes. Wilf tied the sheet between two trees.
What are you doing?
Dad asked.
It's a surprise,
said Wilma. There was a golden sunset that evening. The children had put down lots of candles in jars. How beautiful, said Mom.
It's like magic,
gasped Dad. Suddenly, Biff turned up the lamp. The sheet glowed. The play began. It was about elves. The elves were cardboard puppets. Wilf and Chip moved the puppets around. Biff did the elves' voices. Wilma played the guitar. They all sang songs. It was a good story. It was funny and sad. It made Mom laugh and Dad cry. The play had finished. Everyone bowed. Hooray! Shouted Mom. Well done.
Now,
said Dad.
I've got a surprise.
What is it?
Asked Wilma.
You'll see,
smiled Dad. They went back to the cottage. It was pitch black.
We can't see anything,
said Wilf.
I said you'll see, and now you can,
said Dad. He turned on the power. Dad laughed.
Surprise,
he said.
I wanted you to enjoy the holiday without TV. There was no power cut.
Turn it off again.
Turn it off again, said the children.
We can do without it.
Oxford Reading Tree. The Big Breakfast. Series created by Roderick Hunn and Alex Brichta. Ding ding! Ding ding! Dad came into Chip's room. He was ringing a bell. Chip sat up in bed.
It's time to get up,
said Dad.
Mum's away and we have a lot of jobs to do.
Dad rang the bell on the stairs.
Time to get up,
he called.
Do we have to?
Asked Biff.
It's the weekend.
Yes,
said Dad.
Mum gets back tonight. The house is a mess. We must tidy up.
I suppose so,
yawned Chip.
Good. I'll start breakfast,
said Dad. The children came down for breakfast.
Bad news,
said Dad.
The milk has gone off. I've burned the toast and we've run out of juice. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
said Kipper.
I'm hungry.
We'll have to go to the supermarket,
said Dad.
We need some more food.
I've got a better idea,
said Chip.
Let's have breakfast in the cafe.
You can eat what you like,
said Dad.
Then we'll do the shopping.
Hooray,
said Kipper.
I'm going to have a big breakfast. I'd like blueberry pancakes,
said Biff.
I want eggs,
said Kipper.
Why not have a Kipper,
said Chip.
Only if you have chips, Chip,
said Kipper. At home, Dad told the children to start their jobs.
I'll put the shopping away,
he said.
You go and tidy your rooms. That big breakfast should give you lots of energy.
The children looked at the mess.
Let's tidy up later,
said Chip.
I'm so full, I can't move.
No chance of a walk then,
thought Floppy. Just then, the magic key began to glow. The magic took them back in time. It took them to a big house. It took them into a large hall with a big staircase.
It's still dark outside,
said Biff. Ding ding! A bell began to ring. Suddenly, a door opened. A little girl came in. She was holding a candle.
I'm Rose. You must be the new servants. The housekeeper will see you now. Follow me,
she said. Rose took them down a corridor into a large storeroom. The housekeeper was waiting for them.
You are late,
she said sternly. There are lots of jobs to be done. She gave the children lists of jobs. Begin with the cleaning, she said. It has to be done before breakfast. I see you have brought a dog. Good. Rose took them to a large kitchen.
This is Mrs. Fry,
said Rose.
She's the cook.
Hello, said Mrs. Fry. I see you have brought a dog. Good.
Why is everyone pleased that we have brought a dog?
asked Chip. Mrs. Fry pointed at a wooden wheel. Put your dog in here, she said.
I may not like this,
thought Floppy. Rose put Floppy inside the wheel.
The wheel turns the meat over the fire,
said Rose.
It stops the meat burning.
You look like a giant hamster,
laughed Kipper.
Now we must hurry. There's so much to do,
said Rose.
Lord Plum will be up soon. We must finish the jobs. Then we can get his breakfast ready.
Mrs. Fry put the meat on the spit.
We need this for Lord Plum's breakfast.
She looked at Floppy.
Keep walking and don't stop,
she said.
Funny way to get a walk,
thought Floppy.
What else is for breakfast?
asked Biff.
Kippers, oyster bread, beetroot pancakes, ale and ice cream. Nothing too fancy,
said Rose.
I'll get it ready. You get on with the jobs on the list.
Biff had to scrub the clothes clean. She beat the rugs. Then she had to make some bread and put powder on some wigs. Chip had to clean all the fireplaces. Then he had to collect a lot of coal. Next, he had to polish the silver and polish all the boots. Kipper churned milk to make butter. He got ice cream from the ice house. He had to carry water to the bathrooms and scrub all the floors.
Come quickly,
said Rose.
The food is ready. We must take it to the dining room.
Hurry up and don't forget Lord Plum's newspaper,
said Mrs. Fry. The children put out the dishes on a big table.
Hurry up,
said the housekeeper. Lord Plum will be down soon. He won't want to see you in here. At last, breakfast was finished.
Was Lord Plum happy with his breakfast?
asked Kipper.
No,
said the housekeeper.
You forgot to iron his newspaper.
I'm worn out,
said Kipper.
I never want another walk,
said Floppy.
At least we can have a rest now,
said Chip.
A rest?
said Rose.
We have to start getting ready for lunch.
Suddenly, the magic key began to glow. It was time to go home.
What a relief,
said Biff.
That was hard work,
said Biff. Dad came into Biff's room.
Hurry up,
he said.
We've still got lots of jobs to do. Then we have to walk Floppy.
Oh no,
said everyone. Early next morning, the children made Mom a surprise breakfast. What a big breakfast, said Mom. You have gone to so much trouble.
It was nothing,
said Biff. Oxford Reading Tree. Australian Adventure. Series created by Roderick Hunt and Alex Brichta. Floppy had not been for a walk. We should take Floppy out, said Mum. Chip groaned.
Walking Floppy is boring.
Well, you could bring the boomerangs, said Mum. Biff threw her boomerang really hard. It flew up into the sky.
I'll show them I'm not boring,
thought Floppy.
I'll make them laugh.
Floppy chased after the boomerang. Suddenly, it turned in the air. Floppy turned as well. Mind the pond, shouted Mum.
Too late,
laughed Chip. Splash! Floppy landed in the pond. "Oh, Floppy, you're filthy," said Mum. Everyone laughed. Floppy was pleased.
At least I made them laugh,
he thought. Floppy was not so pleased when he got home. Mum wanted to give him a wash. "Let's use the hosepipe," she said.
Oh no,
thought Floppy. Floppy hid under Biff's bed.
Why do I need a wash?
He thought.
Dogs like being dirty.
Suddenly, the magic key began to glow. It was time for a new adventure.
Dogs don't have magic adventures by themselves, do they?
Thought Floppy.
Well, it's better than a bath.
The magic key took Floppy to Australia. It took him to a red desert. The sand was hot. It hurt Floppy's paws. Suddenly, a boomerang flew over his head. Whoosh! Another one landed next to him. Then Floppy saw some men.
"Go away, you dirty dingo!"
They shouted. Floppy ran away. The men chased him. He ran past some rocks.
"Quick!"
said a voice.
"Hide here!"
The men ran past. Behind the rocks were 4 dogs. They all laughed at Floppy.
What floppy ears,
said one of them.
"What's your name?"
asked another.
Floppy,
said Floppy.
My name is Red,
said Red.
This is Ginger. She's Amber, and he's called Tan. We're dingoes. What's a dingo?
asked Floppy.
That's what men call us,
said Amber.
Why did they chase me?
asked Floppy. The dingoes looked sad.
"We used to be friends,"
said Tan.
"but now men don't like us because we have fleas."
We'll show you,
said Red. The dingoes took Floppy to a cave. On the walls of the cave were paintings. Some of the paintings were of animals Floppy had never seen before.
These are very old paintings,
said Amber.
They show a time when men and dingoes lived together.
We used to help men get food and sleep near their fires,
said Red.
"If only we didn't have fleas,"
said Tan. Outside the cave, it was getting dark. The night was cold. Far away, the men had lit a fire.
Let's hide near the men,
said Red. One of the men was telling a story. It was about a time long ago when the world began.
Those times long ago were called the dream time,
whispered Amber. The story was about a creature called a kangaroo. The kangaroo wanted to steal fire from men. Floppy was tired. He closed his eyes. He began to dream. In Floppy's dream, he met a strange animal with a long tail. It looked like one of the cave paintings.
What's your name?
asked Floppy.
"They call me Kangaroo,"
he said. Kangaroo wanted to make a fire. He rubbed 2 sticks together.
"This is how men make fire,"
he said. Suddenly, the sticks caught fire. It made Kangaroo jump. He dropped the sticks. The dry grass caught fire. The fire spread quickly. Kangaroo jumped up and down.
"It's hot! It's hot!"
he said.
Run to the water hole,
said Floppy. All the animals ran to the water hole. As they went into the water, fleas began to jump off their backs.
Ah, Fleas don't like getting wet,
thought Floppy. Floppy woke up. He had an idea. He crept up to one of the men and picked up his boomerang.
I have a plan,
Floppy said to the dingoes.
I think I can get rid of your fleas.
You can?
Said Amber.
Then we can make friends with the men.
We need to find a water hole,
said Floppy.
Follow us,
said Red. They walked for a long time. At last, they got to the water hole.
Pick up the boomerang,
said Floppy,
and walk backwards into the water.
Ginger walked backwards into the water. The fleas on his legs began to crawl onto his back. They did not want to get wet.
Keep going,
said Floppy. Ginger went deeper. Soon, his back was under the water. The fleas crawled onto his head. They did not want to get wet. All the fleas were now on Ginger's head.
Now, put your head under the water,
said Floppy. Ginger lay down in the water. The fleas crawled up his nose and onto the boomerang.
Let go of the boomerang,
said Floppy. The boomerang floated away. The fleas stayed on the boomerang.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Cheered the dingoes.
Now we can all get rid of our fleas and make friends with the men,
said Amber.
I hope so,
said Floppy. The magic key began to glow. It was time for Floppy to go home.
Oh no,
said Floppy.
I didn't bring anything back from my adventure.
Floppy heard Mum calling. She was still in the garden. Floppy, it's bath time, she said. Mum washed Floppy with the hosepipe. Fleas, she said. How did you get fleas? Floppy picked up the boomerang.
I'm off to the park,
he thought.
I need to find a water hole.
Oxford Reading Tree. The Motorway. Series created by Roderick Hund and Alex Brichta. Biff and Chip went to stay with Gran. Gran lived in a little village. Biff and Chip liked staying with Gran. She was good fun. She made Biff and Chip laugh. Gran took Biff and Chip to the shed. She had a surprise for them. Open the door, she said. I've got a surprise for you.
What is it?
Asked Chip. Biff and Chip opened the door and looked inside the shed. They had a big surprise.
Oh no,
said Biff.
There's a dragon in the shed.
It's not a real dragon, said Gran. It's a kite.
Biff and Chip looked at the kite.
It's a Chinese dragon kite,
said Gran.
It's wonderful,
said Biff. The children wanted to fly the kite.
It's a good day for a picnic, said Gran. And it's a good day to fly the kite. It's quite windy.
Can I fly it first?
Asked Biff. Gran found a good place for the picnic. It was near her house.
This is a good place to fly the kite,
she said. She let Biff fly the kite first. The wind took the kite up in the sky. It went higher and higher.
It looks wonderful,
said Chip. Suddenly, the wind got stronger.
Don't let go,
called Gran. The wind pulled the dragon kite out of Biff's hand. It blew away and landed in a tree. Biff was upset.
I couldn't hold on to it,
she said. Chip climbed the tree and pulled the kite, but it wouldn't come down.
Be careful,
said Biff.
Mind you don't tear it.
And mind you don't fall,
said Gran. The kite was stuck in the tree. Chip couldn't get it down. In the end, someone got the kite down with a long pole.
Thank you,
said Biff and Chip. Biff and Chip went to fly the kite again. Chip saw some wild flowers.
Mind those flowers,
he said.
Don't step on them.
Gran looked upset.
What's the matter, Gran?
asked Chip.
They want to build a motorway. They want to put it right here,
said Gran. Biff and Chip were upset too. They didn't want a motorway there.
We won't be able to have picnics or play in the wood,
said Biff.
And we won't be able to fly the kite.
A woman pointed to the wood. Then she pointed to the village. This is where the motorway will go. It will go between the wood and the village, she said. Gran was very upset. She looked at the village and she looked at her house.
We don't want a motorway here,
she said.
We must stop it.
Gran told people in the village about the motorway. Everyone was upset.
We don't want a motorway here. We must stop it,
they said. Everyone wanted to stop the motorway.
We don't want it here,
said Gran.
It will spoil our village.
It can't be helped,
said a man.
We can't stop it.
People came to Gran's house. They made banners and posters. Gran made a big banner. Biff helped her. The banner said, "Stop the motorway." Chip was good at painting. He made a poster. The poster said, "Save our woodland."
The banner looks good,
said Biff.
And Chip's poster looks good too.
Everyone went to a meeting. An important woman was there. The woman pointed to a map. We have to put the motorway here, she said.
We don't want the motorway here,
said Gran.
It will spoil the village.
It can't be helped, said the woman. It has to go somewhere. I can't stop it. Soon, big lorries and bulldozers came to the village. Nobody wanted the motorway. Everyone wanted to stop it, but the bulldozers began to dig. Gran looked at the bulldozers.
The motorway will spoil the countryside, she said. Now we won't be able to walk in the woods and go on picnics.
The children watched the bulldozers. Biff looked at the wildflowers.
Oh no,
she said.
The bulldozer will dig them up soon. Let's pick some for Gran.
Biff and Chip made Gran a cup of tea. They gave her the flowers.
We picked these flowers for you,
said Chip.
The bulldozer will dig them up soon.
Gran looked at the flowers.
I think these flowers are very rare,
she said.
I've never seen them before.
She jumped up and ran inside the house. Gran looked in a book. She found a picture of the flowers.
This is wonderful,
shouted Gran.
These flowers are rare. Now we can stop the motorway.
People came from everywhere. They looked at the rare flowers.
This is amazing.
They said, "We've never seen these flowers before."
They must be saved.
Hooray!
Shouted Gran.
These flowers will stop the motorway. They can't put a motorway here. They can't dig up rare flowers.
The rare flowers were saved, and so was Gran's village. The bulldozers and lorries went away, but they left a big hole in the ground.
Thank you for helping us stop the motorway,
said Gran.
What will you do about the hole?
Asked Biff. Gran smiled. She had an idea. The big hole was made into a lake. Ducks came to live on it, and wild flowers grew round it.
The children will like this,
said Gran.
It's better than a motorway.
Oxford Reading Tree. Roman Adventure. Series created by Roderick Hunn and Alex Brichta. Biff and Chip were doing a project on the Romans. The project was for Mrs. May. Biff made a chariot and Chip drew a picture. Mom and Dad looked at the project.
The Romans are interesting,
said Biff. Chip showed Mom his picture. It was a picture of a Roman chariot. The chariot was pulled by 4 horses. Biff showed Dad the model.
The Romans had chariot races,
said Biff.
The races were dangerous. A chariot was so heavy, it needed 4 horses to pull it.
Mom and Dad played a joke on Biff and Chip. They dressed up as Romans.
It's time for supper,
called Dad. Kipper had some pizza and Mom had some grapes. This is a Roman supper, said Mom.
Romans didn't have pizzas,
laughed Biff. How do you know? Asked Mom. Biff and Chip went to Biff's room. Biff wanted to take the chariot to school, but she still had to paint it. Chip was good at painting, so he helped Biff. Suddenly, the magic key began to glow. The magic took Biff and Chip on a new adventure.
Oh no,
said Biff.
I'm still painting the model chariot.
The magic took the children back to Roman times. It took them to Rome. Biff and Chip saw a girl. She was playing in the street. The girl looked at Biff's model.
It's a good model,
she said,
but it doesn't look quite right. We've never seen a real chariot,
said Biff. The Roman girl was called Diana. She had a brother called Mark. He was a chariot driver. Mark looked at Biff's model chariot.
I can show you a real chariot,
he said. Mark opened some big doors. Inside was a real chariot. It was like Biff's model, but it was very big.
Wow,
said Biff. Mark let Biff go on the chariot. Biff pretended she was a chariot driver. She pretended she was in a race.
I wish I could be a chariot driver,
said Biff. Mark laughed at Biff.
You have to be strong to race chariots,
he said.
I'm in a race today. Come and watch it.
Everyone was hungry, so Diana took the children home.
We can have some bread,
she said.
My father is a baker. He makes the best bread in Rome.
Everyone looked at the bread, but something was wrong. The bread didn't look right. It was flat. It didn't look like bread at all. Diana's father made some more bread. He baked it in the oven, but it was flat too.
"This is bad,"
said Diana's father.
"Nobody will buy bread like this."
Chip looked at the flat bread. He had a good idea.
We can make pizzas,
He said.
What are pizzas?
Asked Diana.
We don't know what pizzas are.
Chip told Diana's mother how to make pizzas. Everyone helped. Diana's mother cooked the pizzas in the big oven. The pizzas looked good,
I hope you like them,
said Chip.
Everyone likes pizzas.
Said Biff. They smell good, said Diana's mother. The pizzas tasted good too. Diana's father was pleased.
"Now we can sell them,"
He said.
"We can sell lots and lots. What a good job the bread was flat."
They went outside to sell the pizzas, but there was nobody in the street. There was nobody to buy the pizzas.
Where is everyone?
Asked Biff. Everyone had gone to the chariot races. Diana's father was upset. He looked at the pizzas.
"Oh, all that work for nothing,"
He said.
"How can we sell pizzas when everyone is at the chariot races?"
Diana had an idea. She put some pizzas in a basket.
Come on,
She called.
if everyone is at the chariot races, we can sell the pizzas there.
They took the pizzas to the chariot races.
Come and buy a pizza.
Called Diana. But nobody bought the pizzas. Everyone was looking at the races. The children saw Mark, so they gave him one of the pizzas.
"These pizzas are good,"
Said Mark. Biff looked at the chariot, and she had a good idea. The children had a banner. It was about the pizzas. Mark put it on his chariot. The people laughed when they saw the banner. Why has Mark put a banner on his chariot? People asked.
"And what are pizzas?"
The race began, and everyone cheered when Mark came first. The people ran to buy the pizzas. These pizzas are good, they said.
"What a good idea to put a banner on the chariot."
Just then, some soldiers grabbed the family and the children.
"You must stop selling pizzas,"
They said.
"The emperor wants to see you. Come with us."
The emperor was angry.
"This has got to stop,"
He said.
"Who put this banner on the chariot? And what are pizzas?"
Would you like to try one?
Asked Diana.
"They taste good.
Said the emperor.
You can deliver some to the palace, but I don't want banners on the chariots, so take your banner away."
Just then, the magic key glowed. Chip looked at the little banner. He put it on Biff's chariot.
The emperor didn't like banners on chariots,
He said.
I wonder what Mrs. May will think.
Oxford Reading Tree. The Jigsaw Puzzle. Series created by Roderick Hund and Alex Brichta. It was raining. The children were fed up. Biff and Anina were bored, and Chip was in a bad mood. He wanted to play with the frisbee. Mum had an idea. She had a new jigsaw puzzle. She gave it to the children. You can do this jigsaw, she said. It's a good one. Everyone looked at the jigsaw. It was a picture of soldiers and a boy. The soldiers are asking the boy a question, said Mum. They want to know where his father is. The jigsaw puzzle had lots of pieces. The children liked the jigsaw, but it was hard to do. Soon, Chip got bored with it. He began to play with the frisbee. In the end, everyone got bored. The magic key began to glow. The magic took the children into a new adventure. The magic took the children to a time long ago. It took them to a big house. Some children were playing with their mother and father. Kipper looked at the children.
What funny clothes they're wearing,
He said.
They look like the children in the picture on the jigsaw,
Said Anina. Kipper spoke to the girl and boy.
Hello,
He said.
my name's Kipper. This is Biff, Chip, and Anina. What funny names,
Said the girl.
and what funny clothes you're wearing.
What are your names?
Asked Chip.
My name is Jane,
Said the girl.
My name is Edmund,
Said the boy.
and my father is very important.
We don't mind.
Said Kipper. Edmund had never seen a frisbee before.
Why have you got a plate?
He asked.
It's not a plate.
Said Kipper.
It's a frisbee.
Everyone played with it. Suddenly, there was a shout. A man ran towards Edmund's father.
Quickly, you must hide,
He said.
Get inside the house. The soldiers are coming.
Edmund's father ran inside.
Quickly!
Shouted Edmund.
We must help my father to hide. The soldiers mustn't find him.
Everyone ran into the house. The soldiers came to the house. They knocked on the door.
Let us in.
They shouted.
Open the door or we'll smash it down.
Everyone ran to the library. The library had a secret room. The room was behind a bookcase. Edmund's father hid in the secret room.
Good luck, father,
Said Edmund. Edmund's mother pushed the bookcase back.
Don't tell the soldiers about the secret room,
Said Jane.
They will kill my father if they find him.
The soldiers ran into the house. They looked for Edmund's father,
Tell us where he is.
and they shouted. The children were frightened, but they didn't say anything. The soldiers looked everywhere, but they couldn't find Edmund's father. One of the soldiers found a sword.
His sword is here,
He said.
so he must be here somewhere.
The soldiers took everyone into a room. Some men sat at a big table. They looked at the children. One of them looked at Kipper.
Come here, little boy.
He said.
Where is your father?
Asked the man. Kipper was frightened, but he didn't say anything. None of the children said anything. The important men were angry.
Your father is hiding.
They shouted.
Tell us where he is. If he is hiding in this house, we will soon find him.
Nobody said anything, so the soldiers began to pull up the floor. They tapped on the walls. Edmund's mother was frightened. They may find him, she said. Edmund and Jane were frightened. They wanted to help their father. Suddenly, Chip had an idea.
Maybe your father could escape if he dressed up as a woman,
He said. Biff and Anina had an idea too. Biff threw the frisbee at a soldier. The soldier laughed. He had never seen a frisbee before.
Come and look at this.
He shouted. The soldiers wanted a rest, so they stopped looking for Edmund's father. They all went outside and played with the frisbee. Soon, everyone was laughing. The soldiers liked the frisbee. They played with it for a long time. Suddenly, an old woman came up. She looked very poor. She wanted some money. The soldiers stopped playing with the frisbee. They shouted at the old woman.
"Go away!"
They shouted.
"We don't have any money."
Suddenly, one of the soldiers looked at the house. He saw someone running away.
"Look! Over there!"
He shouted.
"Someone's running away!"
The soldiers chased the woman.
"It's not a woman, it's a man!"
They shouted.
"It must be the man we want. Don't let him get away."
The soldiers caught the man and took him back to the house.
Oh no,
Said Anina.
they've caught Edmund's father. Our idea didn't work.
The soldiers thought they had caught Edmund's father, but it was a trick. Said the soldiers.
Hooray!
Said the children. The children found some old clothes.
So Edmund's father was the old woman.
Said Anina.
What a good trick!
Laughed everyone. Suddenly, the magic key began to glow. The jigsaw puzzle was finished. Mom looked at something in the picture. "That's funny," she said. "That looks like a frisbee,"
It must be a plate.
said Chip. Oxford Reading Tree. The Hunt for Gold. Series created by Roderick Hunt and Alex Brichta. Wilma's mum had a charm bracelet. It was made of gold. The bracelet had 10 charms on it. The charms were made of gold too.
It's a beautiful bracelet,
said Chip. Wilma's mum was washing her hands at the sink. She had the bracelet on. One of the charms fell off the bracelet and it went down the plug hole. Wilma's mum was very upset. "I hope I can get the charm out of the plug hole," she said. Chip ran and got his mum.
She can get the charm out,
he said. Mum put a plastic bowl under the sink. Everyone looked in the bowl. "There's the charm," said Mum.
Yuck,
said Wilma.
It's got dirt on it.
Wilma's mum was glad to get it back. Mum found something else. "Yuck," she said. "Look what I found." It was Wilf's old chewing gum. "What a place to stick old chewing gum," said Wilma's mum. The children went to Biff's bedroom. Wilf had 3 packets of chewing gum. He gave some gum to Chip.
This is my bedroom,
said Biff.
So mind where you put the old chewing gum.
Suddenly, the magic key began to glow. The magic took the children on a new adventure.
Help,
said Wilf.
I don't know what to do with my old chewing gum.
The magic took the children back in time. It took them to a river. A boy and a girl were looking for something in the water. The boy and the girl had big pans. They scooped up little stones from the river. Then they looked for tiny bits of gold in the bottom of the pans. The boy and girl got angry when they saw the children. They didn't want them to look for gold.
This is our bit of river,
they shouted.
Go and look for gold somewhere else.
Wilf gave the boy and girl some gum. They hadn't seen chewing gum before. They didn't know what to do with it.
You just chew it,
said Wilf.
Chew it, but don't swallow it.
The boy was called Luke, and the girl was called Alice. They lived in a hut by the river. Alice and Luke looked for gold every day. It was a hard life. The family hadn't found any gold, and Luke and Alice were always hungry.
Looking for gold is hard,
said Luke.
Do you want to help us?
The children helped look for gold. Wilf and Biff helped Luke's father. Wilma and Chip helped Alice and Luke.
I'm glad I brought the gum,
said Wilf.
This is hard work.
It was cold in the river, and the children soon got tired.
We do this every day, said Luke, and we still haven't found any gold.
Suddenly, Luke's father shouted,
Gold!
He yelled.
We've found gold!
He picked up a big nugget of gold and jumped up and down. Everyone ran to see. Everyone looked at the gold nugget. It felt heavy and cold. Hooray! Shouted Luke's mother. We have found gold at last, she said. I thought we'd never find any. The children went to town with Luke's mother and father. Luke and Alice were excited.
We can sell the gold,
they said.
And we can buy some food.
We can buy new clothes, said Luke's mother.
And a new spade,
said Luke's father.
And some chewing gum,
said Luke.
What's chewing gum?
Asked Luke's father. Some men were waiting in the road.
Oh no,
said Luke's father.
Robbers! They will steal our gold nugget. What shall we do?
Wilf had an idea. He spoke to all the children.
Give me your chewing gum,
he said.
Give me all the old chewing gum and give me the gold nugget.
The robbers wanted gold and money.
But we're just a poor family,
said Luke's father.
We haven't got any money, and we haven't found any gold.
The robbers looked everywhere. They searched everyone.
We're only children,
said Alice.
We haven't got any gold, and we haven't got any money.
The robbers couldn't find the gold. They let everyone go.
Hooray!
said Luke.
Wilf's chewing gum saved the gold.
Is that chewing gum?
Asked Luke's father. Luke's father and mother got some money for the gold.
I can have a new dress,
said Alice.
And I can have new boots,
said Luke. Luke's father bought a new cart. It was bigger than the old one.
We need a new cart,
said Luke.
There is so much to take home.
The children helped them put everything on the cart.
This is hard work, too,
said Biff.
These magic adventures are not all fun.
They all went back to the river. The family put on the new clothes. Wilma and Biff looked for gold.
I hope we find some,
said Wilma.
I'd love to find a gold nugget.
Suddenly, Biff saw a little yellow speck in the pan. She had found some gold.
It's very small,
she said. Just then, the magic key began to glow. The magic took the children home. Biff looked at the gold.
It looks really tiny now,
she said.
It looks like a speck of dust.
Suddenly, Chip sneezed. The speck of gold blew out of Biff's hand. It blew onto the carpet.
Do you see where it went?
asked Biff.
Oh no, sorry,
said Chip. The children looked and looked. They couldn't find the little speck of gold.
I don't think we ever will,
said Biff.
Oh no,
said everyone. Oxford Reading Tree. Chinese Adventure. Series created by Roderick Hun and Alex Brichta. It was Gran's birthday, so she had come to stay. The children gave Gran a present.
Happy birthday,
they said.
Thank you,
said Gran. Dad and Mum gave Gran a present.
It's a funny shape,
said Gran.
I can't think what it can be.
The children laughed.
We can,
said Kipper. Gran was pleased with the present. It was a Chinese vase. I hope you like it, said Mum.
It's beautiful,
said Gran.
Thank you. Put it in a safe place,
said Dad. Gran had a surprise for everyone. She had a box of fireworks. She wanted a firework party.
But I thought fireworks were dangerous,
said Biff.
Fireworks are dangerous,
said Gran.
So children mustn't play with them.
Mum and Gran got the fireworks ready. They were very careful. The children stayed out of the way. Nadim and Anina came to the party. Everyone was excited. Gran let off a big firework.
Oh,
said everyone.
What a beautiful firework,
said Chip. Dogs don't like fireworks, so Floppy stayed inside the house. Suddenly, a firework made a loud bang.
I don't like this,
thought Floppy, so he hid under a little table. It was time to have tea. Mum had a surprise for Gran. She had a birthday cake with lots of candles.
Happy birthday, Gran,
said everyone. Biff went into the front room to get her camera. She saw Gran's vase on the floor. The vase was broken.
Oh no,
said Biff. The children went to Biff's room. Biff showed them the broken vase.
Gran will be upset,
said Chip.
And so will Mom and Dad.
I hope we can mend it,
said Biff. Suddenly, the key began to glow. The magic took the children into a new adventure.
Oh no,
said Biff.
I wanted to put the vase back downstairs.
The magic took the children back in time. It took them to China long ago. Nadim knew where they were.
We are in the Forbidden City,
he said.
Why is it called that?
Asked Chip.
The Emperor lives here,
said Nadim.
He lives here with his family. Other people are not allowed to come here. That is why it is called the Forbidden City.
There was a fierce dog in the Forbidden City. It didn't like Floppy. The fierce dog growled and barked, but Floppy didn't want to fight.
Stop it!
shouted Chip. Some women ran up and grabbed the dogs. The children were worried.
Oh, help!
said Chip. The women took the children and Floppy to the Emperor.
What are you doing in the Forbidden City?
He shouted.
People are not allowed in here.
The emperor called his soldiers.
Put them in prison.
He shouted.
That will teach them to come to the Forbidden City.
I think we've upset him,
said Biff. The emperor had 2 children. They were twins, and they looked exactly the same. The twins spoke to the emperor. One of them pointed to the children. The twins wanted to play with Kipper.
I will put you in prison tomorrow,
said the emperor.
Today, you can play with the twins.
Hooray!
said the twins. The twins had never played with other children. They didn't know how to play football. One of the twins kicked Nadim.
Ow!
said Nadim.
That was my leg.
Suddenly, the ball rolled away and fell down a grating.
Oh no!
said the twins.
Now the ball is lost.
Both the twins began to cry. Biff and Chip pulled up the grating. Nadim could see some steps. He began to go down them.
Hurry up,
said Biff.
We don't want the emperor to put us in prison.
Nadim went into a big cellar. It was full of cobwebs and dust. Nadim called the others.
Look at these giant vases,
he said.
They look like Gran's vase.
Some people came into the cellar. They were the emperor's servants. They didn't like the emperor. They had barrels of gunpowder because they wanted to blow up the palace. The children were frightened. They hid inside the vases. The people didn't see them.
We'll come back and blow up the palace tonight,
said a man. The children ran to the emperor. They told him about the gunpowder under the palace.
Some people want to blow up the palace tonight,
they said. That night, the people came back. The emperor's soldiers were waiting. The emperor was pleased with the children.
I won't put you in prison now,
he said. The emperor had a big firework party. There were lots and lots of fireworks. They lit up the sky. Everyone gasped when the fireworks went off. Biff thought of Gran.
I wish she was here,
she thought.
Gran would love all these fireworks. She'd love this adventure.
The emperor wanted to give the children a present. Biff had a good idea. She asked for one of the big vases. Suddenly, the magic key began to glow. The magic took the children home. It took the giant vase too. But now, the vase was quite small.
It looks exactly the same as Gran's vase,
said Chip. The children looked at the vases.
Oh no,
said Biff.
They aren't quite the same after all. The new vase has Chinese writing on it. Do you think Gran will notice?
Oxford Reading Tree. The Willow Pattern Plot. Series created by Roderick Hunn. Biff and Chip were at a car boot sale. They saw Nadim.
Nadim, over here,
called Biff. Nadim ran to see them. He had bought something at the sale. It was a blue and white plate. He showed it to Biff and Chip.
It's a present for my mom, said Nadim. It's a willow pattern plate. My mom collects them. Why is it called a willow pattern plate? Asked Chip. I don't know, said Nadim. But I think the pattern tells a story.
I wonder what the story is,
said Biff. Mom and Dad looked at Nadim's plate.
It's a present for my mom,
said Nadim. Biff asked if Nadim could come and play. So Nadim went to play with Biff and Chip. They went up to Biff's bedroom.
What shall we play? Asked Nadim.
I don't know,
said Biff. Suddenly, the key began to glow. The magic took the children into a new adventure.
What's happening?
Called Nadim.
Help,
said Biff.
Everything is going blue.
What a strange place,
said Chip.
What strange trees. Everything looks blue and white, said Nadim. We're in the land of the willow pattern.
They were in a big garden. It had a high wall all around it, and blue trees grew everywhere.
I can see water,
said Biff.
Is the garden next to the sea?
No, it's next to a lake, said Nadim.
There's a bridge,
said Biff.
It's like the one on the plate.
I can see a little house down by the water,
said Chip. Down by the lake they saw a girl. She was all alone.
She looks unhappy,
said Biff.
Why is she all alone, and why is she crying?
The girl was called Kim Shi. She lived in the little house by the lake. She had a cruel father. He would not let her go out of the garden. Kim loved a boy called Chang. She wanted to marry him. But Chang was too poor. Kim's father wanted her to marry a rich man, but Kim loved Chang. Kim Shi heard Chang calling.
Kim Shi,
he called.
are you alone?
Chang, said Kim. How did you get here?
I swam across the lake,
said Chang.
Nobody saw me.
Oh,
said Kim. You are cold and wet.
It does not matter,
said Chang. But Kim Shi was afraid. You must go away, she said. My father must not see you here.
This garden is like a prison,
said Chang.
Your father never lets you go out.
But what can we do? Asked Kim.
We must run away,
said Chang.
Then I can marry you.
But how can I leave the garden? Asked Kim. There are guards everywhere.
Don't worry,
said Chang.
I will think of something.
Kim heard the sound of a twig snapping. Someone is watching us, she gasped. Chang jumped to his feet. He held up a stick.
Who is there?
He called. Then they saw Biff, Chip, and Nadim.
Don't be afraid,
said Biff.
We are friends.
We have never seen children like you before,
gasped Chang.
How did you get into this garden?
We didn't mean to listen,
said Chip.
But we heard what you were saying.
We know you want to run away,
said Biff. But how can we? Asked Kim. There are guards all round the garden. Nadim had a good idea. He told them what it was.
It's a brilliant idea,
said Chip.
I'm sure it will work,
said Biff.
But what if we are caught?
asked Chang.
Do you have a better idea?
Asked Biff.
No,
Said Chang.
it is our only chance.
First, you must hide, said Nadim. Then, be ready to run over the bridge, said Chip. Now we must get ready, said Nadim.
Kim had a long sash round her waist.
Give me your sash, Kim,
Said Biff. Kim gave Biff her sash. Biff tied Kim's sash to the bridge. There were lemon trees in the garden. Nadim and Chip climbed into one. They picked as many lemons as they could. Then they waited. Kim and Chang hid by the bridge. Biff held on to the end of the sash.
I hope Nadim's idea works,
She thought. Nadim called from the tree.
Willow pattern plot, begin,
He said. Chip and Nadim began to shout at the guards.
Come and get us,
They yelled.
we're over here.
The guards ran into the garden. They ran towards Kimchi's little house. Now that the guards were in the garden, Kimchi and Chang could escape. Someone else ran into the garden.
My father is coming,
Gasped Kimchi. Kim and Chang began to run, but the guards saw them.
Stop them!
Shouted Kimchi's father. Nadim and Chip threw the lemons at the guards. Chang and Kimchi ran over the bridge. The guards chased after them. Biff got ready.
I hope Kim's sash is strong,
She said. The guards ran onto the bridge. Biff pulled the sash tight. The guards tripped over it. They fell over with a crash.
You fools!
Shouted Kimchi's father. Chip and Nadim climbed down from the lemon tree. They ran across to find Biff. Kimchi's father saw them.
Catch those children!
He yelled.
Well done, Biff,
Said Chip.
Kim and Chang have got away.
I hope we get away too.
Said Biff. The magic key was glowing.
Hooray! It's time to go,
She said.
What an adventure,
Said Chip. Nadim picked up his plate and looked at it.
I wonder what happened in the real Willow pattern story,
He said. Oxford Reading Tree. The Lost Key. Series created by Kipper wanted a magic adventure, but the magic key would not glow. It had not glowed for a long time.
Maybe it will glow if I keep it with me,
He thought. So he put it in his pocket. Mum had to go shopping. She wanted Kipper to go with her. I want to get you some new trainers, she said. So come on. Kipper forgot he had the key in his pocket. On the way to the shops, Mum let Kipper stop and play. He ran to the rocket, and the key fell out of his pocket and onto the grass.
Look at me, Mom,
He called. Kipper looked in his pockets, but the key was not there.
Oh no,
Said Kipper.
Where is the key? I can't have lost it, can I?
But he had lost the key. Kipper wanted to go and look for the key, but Mum would not let him. It had started to rain, and Mum wanted to get home. Ask Biff and Chip to look for it, she said. A man came to cut the grass. He cut it with a mower. The mower ran over the magic key with a clang,
What was that?
said the man. The key had broken the mower. The man said crossly.
Now I shall have to mend the mower.
He was so cross that he threw the magic key in a bin. 2 boys came to play on the swings. One of the boys looked in the bin and found the key.
Look at this old bent key,
he said.
What shall we do with it?
The boys took the key with them. One of them had some string. He tied the key to the string and spun it round and round. Suddenly, the string broke and the key flew through the air. It hit a greenhouse with a crash and broke the glass.
Oh no,
said the boys.
Look at my greenhouse,
yelled the man.
The glass is broken.
The boys ran away as fast as they could.
Just you come back here,
called the man. Kipper had to tell Biff and Chip that he had lost the magic key.
I think I lost it by the rocket,
he said.
But Mom wouldn't let me look for it.
Come on, said Chip.
We must find it.
Wilf and Wilma helped them look for the lost key. Biff asked the man if he had seen it.
Yes,
said the man.
I threw it in that bin, but 2 boys took it out.
The children saw the 2 boys. They asked them if they had found the key.
Yes,
said the boys.
But we lost it again. We broke a man's greenhouse with it.
They saw the man with the greenhouse.
We are sorry about the broken glass,
said Chip.
But could we have the key?
Sorry,
said the man.
I sold the key to the junk shop to help pay for the glass.
The children went to the junk shop. They told the lady about the key and asked her if she had it. Sorry, said the lady. I have just sold it. The lady told them who had it. A man came in, she said. He wanted some old keys. She told him that the man had a shop down the street. The children went to the man's shop. In the window, there were pictures and paintings.
Why do you think the man wants old keys?
asked Wilf. Wilma looked inside the shop. It was closed and she couldn't see the man.
We must get our pocket money,
said Biff.
We may have to buy the key back.
Let's go home then, said Chip. Mom went to the shop with the children. She told the man about the key and how Kipper had lost it. She asked if they could have the key back.
Yes,
said the man.
if you can find it.
The man had painted some pictures and had put lots of keys in them. All the keys had been painted. The children looked at the pictures, but they couldn't see the magic key. They looked at all the pictures.
All the keys look the same,
said Biff. Suddenly, Kipper saw a little picture. It had one key in it.
Here it is,
he said.
This is our key.
The man told them that they would have to buy the picture. Biff and Chip gave Mom their pocket money, and Mom paid the man. It's a lot to pay for an old key, she said. The children pulled the key from the picture and rubbed off the paint. Then they looked at it.
The key has not glowed for a long time,
said Biff.
Perhaps it has lost its magic.
It's been out in the rain, said Wilf.
And it's been bent by a mower. It's been through a window,
said Chip.
And it's been stuck on a painting. It's had a bad time,
said Wilma. The children wanted the key to glow. Wilma picked it up.
Do you think it will ever glow again?
She said.
Do you think the magic will still work? I don't know,
said Biff.
I hope so.
But the key didn't glow, and the magic wouldn't work. Kipper told the key about the adventures he would like to have, but still, the magic wouldn't work. The next day, Wilf and Wilma came to the house with Nadim and Anina. The children were sorry about the key. It still wouldn't glow, and they were all very sad.
How can we make the magic work again?
asked Wilma. Anina thought of a good idea.
Let's remind it of the magic adventures,
she said.
Maybe that will make it work.
But the key still didn't glow. At last, the children gave up. Mum told Biff and Chip it was time for their friends to go home. Cheer up, said Mum. Kipper was sorry about the key.
It's all my fault,
he said, and he began to cry.
Don't cry, Kipper,
said Chip.
Maybe the magic has just run out.
Biff and Chip let Kipper take the key to bed. Kipper looked at it for a long time. At last, he fell asleep. Suddenly, the magic key began to glow. Oxford Reading Tree. The Broken Roof. Series created by Roderick Hund and Alex Brichta. It was games time at school. The children were outside on the field. Anina ran up to Mrs. May.
Come and see something, Mrs. May,
she said. Someone had broken the fence down and dumped junk on the field. Wilf was cross.
We don't want junk on our field,
he said. The field isn't a dump, said Mrs. May. Then Mrs. May saw something in the junk. Do you see this? She asked the children. It's a mangle. It gets the water out of wet clothes.
How does it do that?
asked Anina. Mrs. May took the mangle into the classroom. She showed the children how it worked. First, she got a big sheet and made it wet. Then Nadim turned the handle and Biff helped Mrs. May put the sheet through. The water ran out of the sheet and went into a bucket.
"We don't use mangles now to get clothes dry,"
said Mrs. May.
"What do we use?"
Mrs. May showed the children a picture of someone washing clothes a long time ago. Mrs. May asked the children if they had any old things at home. Some of the children said they had. When Biff and Chip got home from school, they looked at the little house.
The house looks very old,
said Chip.
and so do these little children. Let's take them to school.
Kipper didn't want them to take the little house to school.
What about the magic?
He asked Biff.
The magic won't work if we don't take the key,
said Biff. Some of the children took old things to school.
"What a lot of things," said Mrs. May. "We can find out all about them and have a display."
Mrs. May liked the little house, and so did all the children. Biff and Chip didn't say that the house was magic. That was a secret. Wilf was being silly. He climbed on Mrs. May's table and pushed some books over. The books fell onto the little house with a crash.
Oh no!
said Biff. One of the books made a hole in the roof. Wilf was very upset when he saw that the roof was broken.
I'm sorry,
he said.
Perhaps I can get my dad to mend it.
Biff and Chip took the house home. Kipper was cross when he saw that it was broken. He had the magic key in his hand.
Will the magic still work?
he asked. Just then, the key began to glow. A new adventure began. The magic took the children back in time. It took them to their house a long time ago. The house looked new, but the roof was broken. There were 3 children playing outside, and 2 men were mending the roof.
Didn't our house look nice a long time ago?
said Biff.
But how did the roof get broken?
The children saw Biff, Chip, and Kipper and ran up to them.
Hello,
they said.
Who are you? I'm Biff,
said Biff.
This is Chip, and this is Kipper. What funny names,
said the girl.
My name is Victoria. This is Edward, and this is Will.
What funny clothes you have,
said Will.
Not as funny as yours,
said Kipper. Kipper looked up at the men on the roof.
How did the roof get broken?
he asked.
We don't know,
said Edward.
It was broken when we woke up.
That's funny,
said Kipper. A lady came out and called to the children.
"Go inside and wash your hands," she said. "It's time for tea."
Is that your mother?
Biff asked.
No,
said Edward.
That's our cook.
The children went into the kitchen. The cook looked at Biff, Chip, and Kipper.
May they stay to tea?
asked Victoria.
"They have funny clothes," said Cook, "but yes."
Biff looked round the kitchen.
This is not like our kitchen,
she said. Cook looked at Chip's hands.
"Go and wash your hands,"
she said.
"You can't have tea until you do."
After tea, Cook made the children wash their hands again. Then she told Edward to take some tea to the workmen.
Come and see our rooms,
said Edward. The broken roof was in Edward's room.
Is it mended yet?
He asked.
It won't be long now,
said the man.
Thanks for the tea.
The children went into Victoria's room. Victoria had a little room in her bedroom. It was the one Biff had.
We keep toys in here,
said Victoria.
Come and look.
Biff, Chip, and Kipper looked at the children's toys. Chip loved the rocking horse.
I wish we had a horse like this,
said Kipper.
So do I,
said Biff. Victoria took Biff, Chip, and Kipper into the little room.
Come and see this,
she said.
What is it?
asked Kipper. Victoria showed them a little house. She told them that her father was making it for them.
It will look like this house,
she said.
We know,
said Biff. Edward looked at Chip's watch, and Chip looked at Edward's boat.
Do you want to swap?
asked Edward.
Yes, please,
said Chip.
Then I can take the boat to school to show Mrs. May.
Suddenly, the magic key began to glow.
It's time to go,
said Kipper.
But I don't want to.
Will you come back?
asked Edward.
We don't know,
said Biff.
Maybe.
The magic took the children home. They looked at the little house.
The broken roof has been mended,
said Biff.
How did that happen?
I don't know,
said Chip.
Maybe Dad mended it.
I think the workmen in the adventure did it,
said Kipper.
We saw them. I think it was magic,
said Biff.
I liked that adventure best of all,
said Biff.
I liked those children long ago. I'd like to go back and see them again.
Me too,
said Chip, looking at the boat.
Maybe I could get my watch back.
Oxford Reading Tree.
Red Planet. Wilf came to play with Chip. They made a rocket ship out of bits and pieces. The rocket ship looked quite good. Wilf and Chip played in the rocket ship. They pretended to be spacemen. "The rocket is going to take off," said Wilf. 5, 4, 3, 2... Floppy ran up. He wanted to get in the rocket ship with Wilf and Chip. "Go away, Floppy," called Chip. "The rocket is going to take off." Nadim came to play. He had his computer with him, but he liked the look of the rocket ship. He wanted to play in it too. Just then, it began to rain. "There's not room for all of us," said Chip. "Let's go inside and play with Nadim's computer." They played a game on the computer. It was called Red Planet. They had to land a rocket on the planet. Wilf and Chip crashed the rocket. Nadim didn't. He was good at the game. Suddenly, the magic key began to glow. Chip and Wilf pulled Nadim away from the computer and ran into Biff's room. "Come on," called Chip. "It's time for an adventure." The magic took them to a rocket ship. It took Floppy, too. The rocket looked as if it was about to take off, but the door was open. Nadim wanted to look inside the rocket. "Come on," he called. Chip didn't want to go inside. "It may not be safe," he said. "Why not?" said Nadim. "This is a magic adventure." They went inside the rocket. There was nobody there. "Look at this computer," said Nadim. Floppy jumped up and put his paw on a button. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The rocket began to take off. Up it went, and out into space. "Oh, no!" said Chip. "I don't know where we're going." They began to float about inside the rocket. Nadim found some boots. He put them on. "We must put these boots on," he said. "They will keep us down on the floor." They went to the window and looked out. They saw a big, red planet. "We are going to land on that planet," said Nadim. "We will soon be there." Nadim made the rocket land. "I wouldn't like to do that again," he said. "It's a good job Nadim knows about computers," thought Wilf. "I wouldn't like to crash here." There was red dust all over the planet. There were red rocks and red mountains. Floppy didn't like the look of it. He began to bark and bark. "There are no trees," he thought. They wanted to go outside and look at the planet. They found a space buggy. They looked in the space buggy and found some spacesuits. "Let's put these spacesuits on," said Wilf. "Then we can go outside." "Do you think it will be safe outside?" asked Chip. "I don't know," said Wilf. They went out on the planet in the buggy. The buggy bumped over the rocks, and the red dust flew up. "I don't like this," thought Floppy. "I'm not made for space adventures." Suddenly, the ground cracked, and a big hole opened up. "Oh, help!" said Chip, Wilf, and Nadim as the buggy fell into the hole. They fell down and down inside the planet. "I don't like this," thought Floppy. "I want to go home." They all landed with a bump. The buggy landed with a crash and broke in two. They were inside a big cave. "What a place!" said Wilf. "Look at it." Chip looked at the buggy. "It's broken," he said. "It's had it." "How will we get back to the rocket?" Floppy began to bark. There were some creatures in the cave. They looked like funny little people. "Oh, no," said Nadim. "Look at them. I hope they like us." The creatures looked at the boys. They climbed on the broken buggy and pulled out a spacesuit. One of them turned a tap on Floppy's spacesuit. Floppy's spacesuit began to fill with air. It got bigger and bigger. Then Floppy began to float. "Get Floppy!" yelled Chip. "Don't let him float away!" Wilf asked the creatures how to get out of the cave. They told him that there was no way out. They said that they had never been outside. Wilf had a good idea. He took a spacesuit out and he filled it with air. The spacesuit got bigger and bigger. It began to float up and up. "Hold on," called Wilf, "and don't let go." The spacesuit floated up out of the cave. "We can float back to the rocket," said Chip. "What a good idea!" "I hope it won't go pop," thought Floppy. They floated back to the rocket. Wilf let the air out of the spacesuit, and it came down to the ground. "Good old Wilf," said Nadim. "I don't like floating," thought Floppy. They went inside the rocket, and it took off. Nadim turned on the computer and looked at the screen. "We'll soon be home," he said. Just then, the magic key began to glow. "That's good," thought Floppy. "They won't have to land the rocket. Dogs don't like space adventures." The magic took them back home. "I liked that adventure," said Wilf. He looked at the little spacesuit. "So did I," said Nadim. "But I'm glad I didn't have to land that rocket again."
Oxford Reading Tree.
Lost in the Jungle.
Series created by Roderick Hunt and Alex Brichter.
The next day was Mum's birthday. Chip had a box of chocolates for her. Kipper had made her a monkey at school. Biff didn't know what to get. Biff asked Anina's mum to help her buy a plant. They went into a big greenhouse. The greenhouse was hot and it was full of plants. "What a lot of plants," said Biff. "It's like a jungle in here. I don't know which one to buy." In the end, she found one that she liked. "I'll get this one for Mum," she said. The next day was Mum's birthday, and the children gave her their presents. Mum liked them all. "Thank you," she said. "What a lovely plant, Biff." Dad had a present for Mum. It was a plant. "I didn't know Biff had a plant as well," said Dad. "I don't mind a bit," said Mum. Anina came to play with Biff and Chip. "This is from my mum," she said. Wilma's mum came round with a plant too. "Thank you," said Mum. "I love plants. It's quite like a jungle in here." The children went to play in Biff's room. Anina looked at the little house. "Can we have a magic adventure?" she asked. "We can if the key glows," said Kipper. Just then, the key did begin to glow. The magic took them into a jungle. The jungle was full of plants. "It's wonderful," said Biff. "Look at that one. It's 10 times bigger than the one I gave Mum." They saw a monkey up a tree. It jumped up and down on the branch. "That monkey looks cross," said Kipper. "I don't think it likes us." "It looks like you," said Chip. The monkey was angry with the children. It shook the branch. Then it began to throw things at them. "We can't stay here," said Biff. "Come on." They ran through the jungle, but suddenly Chip stopped. "Oh no," he said. "Look at this." There was a big snake in the way. "We can't go this way," said Chip. "Come on." They came to a river. There were alligators asleep on the bank. "Don't wake them up," said Kipper. "They might get angry." "They might like you for dinner," said Biff. Suddenly, they fell into a big net. It pulled them up in the air. "Oh, help!" called Anina. "We're in a trap!" The children were hanging in the net. The net was a trap to catch animals. "Help! Help!" called the children. "Let us down!" called Kipper. A man and a lady came out of the trees. They were explorers. "Don't worry," said the lady. "We'll soon get you down." "What are you doing in the jungle?" asked the man. "Are you lost?" "Yes," said Biff. "I think we are." "So are we," said the lady. "But then we have been lost for years." She showed them a picture. "We are looking for this place," she said. "It's called the Lost City. Nobody lives there. It's been lost for years and years." The children liked the explorers. They wanted to help them find the lost city. "Maybe we can find it today," said Kipper. "I don't think so," said the man. "We have been looking for years." They came to a rope bridge. "Maybe the lost city is over there," said Biff. "Let's go and see." They began to cross the bridge. I hope it's safe, said Kipper. They found a boat on the bank of the river. The boat was full of water. Oh, good, said the explorers. We lost this boat years ago. They got in the boat and paddled up the river. Look at all the alligators, said Chip. I hope it's not their dinner time. They came to a waterfall. The explorer could not stop the boat. The paddle had broken. Look out, he called. We're going to get wet. The boat went through the waterfall. Oh, help, said Anina. I don't like getting wet. Think of the alligators, said Chip. It's better than getting eaten. Behind the waterfall, there were some steps. The steps went up and up for a long way. Nobody could see how far they went. This may be the way to the lost city, said the lady. Come on. As they climbed the steps, some bats flew past them. If this is the way to the city, I can see how it got lost, said Anina. It's such a long way up. It's the lost city, shouted the explorers. We have found it at last. The man threw his hat in the air, and his wife jumped up and down. I knew we'd find it today, said Kipper. Nobody had been in the city for years. There were plants and trees everywhere. Biff pulled a plant out of a wall. This is like the one I gave Mum, she said. They went to a big building and they opened the doors. Oh, look, they all gasped. Everything inside the building was made of gold. The floor was gold and the walls were gold. There were some gold steps that went up to a gold throne. What a wonderful place, said Anina. There's gold everywhere. Kipper sat on the gold throne. A monkey jumped down behind him. Look at me, he said. Look at that monkey behind Kipper, said Biff. Which one is the monkey? Asked Chip. Suddenly, the key began to glow. It's time to go home, said Chip. Goodbye, said the explorers. Thank you for helping us find the lost city. I wish we had a magic key, said the man. The magic took the children home. Biff still had the plant she found in the lost city. I'll put it in Mum's jungle, she said. I know where we can get a monkey too.
Wilf and
Oxford Reading Tree.
Submarine Adventure.
Series created by Roderick Hunt and Alex Brichter.
Wilf and Wilma had come to play at Biff and Chip's house. It was Wilf's birthday.
Happy birthday, Wilf,
said Biff and Chip. They gave him a big card. Wilf had a large box.
This is my birthday present,
he said. Everyone looked inside the box.
What is it?
Asked Chip. It looks like a submarine, said Biff.
It's a kind of submarine.
said Wilf.
It explores the seabed.
That's right, said Wilma. It goes to the bottom of the sea. What a brilliant present, said Biff. Biff. The submarine looked like a car. It had big windows and it had headlights. Wilf put the headlights on.
It's brilliant,
said Chip. Biff looked at the magic key. Suddenly it began to glow. It was time for a new adventure,
I wonder where the key will take us.
said Wilf. The magic took the children to the sea, where there were lots of boats. Chip pointed to a yellow submarine. "Look at that one," he said. "It looks just like Wilf's submarine." The children went to look at the submarine,
I wish we could look inside.
said Chip. Just then, a hatch began to open, and a man looked out. The man peered at them.
Hello,
He said,
I'm Professor Tangle. How do you do?
said Wilf.
My new crew?
Said Professor Tangle.
You look a bit young. We're not your new crew.
Shouted Wilf.
How do you do?
Professor Tangle didn't hear properly. He got things muddled up.
You know what to do?
He said.
That's good. Get on board
Went on the Professor.
and tell me your names.
I'm Biff, said Biff. And this is Wilma. This is Wilf, and this is Chip.
No, it's not a ship.
Said the Professor.
It's a diving machine. We know that.
Said Wilf. We've never been in one, said Wilma. And we're not your new crew.
You flew?
Said Professor Tangle.
I didn't see an airplane. Now, shall we go?
Everyone smiled, and they all climbed into the submarine. Professor Tangle shut the hatch. There's not much room, said Wilma. No, said Biff. I hope it doesn't leak,
Of course you can speak.
said the Professor. Professor Tangle started the engines.
It's time to dive.
He said. The submarine went under the water. Glub, 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 it went. Everyone looked out of the window. They could see fish everywhere,
It's wonderful.
said Chip.
It's amazing to be under the sea. You can't see?
Said Professor Tangle.
Look out of the window then. Come on, crew.
Said Professor Tangle.
Time to do some work. Push that button, Biff. Press that handle, Wilf. Pull that lever, Chip.
We're not the crew, yelled Biff. Things might go wrong,
Sing a song?
said Professor Tangle.
There's no time for that. There's far too much to do.
We're not the...
Come on.
The submarine began to dive. It went deeper and deeper. Glub, 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 it went,
Where are we heading?
shouted Chip.
Will we dive deep? No, you can't go to sleep,
said Professor Tangle.
You're the crew. You have to stay awake. We're going to dive deep.
This thing scares me, said Wilma. The submarine went deeper and deeper. Glub, 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 it went. Everyone looked out of the window. I can see a shark, said Wilma.
It is getting dark,
said the professor. The submarine went even deeper. Professor Tangle was excited. It began to get dark. It's getting very dark, said Biff. Put the lights on, Professor. The professor pushed the light switch.
Bother! The lights don't work,
he said. Biff looked out of the window. Oh no! Help! Professor Tangle! I can see huge rocks, she called.
No, I don't need clean socks,
said the professor.
No, where's that fuse?
He began to look for his toolbox.
Look out,
yelled Chip.
We're going to crash.
Professor Tangle pushed a button and he pulled a lever. The submarine didn't crash. It just missed the rocks. Phew! That was close, said Wilma. There was a cave ahead of them. The submarine was heading for it.
Slow down, Professor,
called Wilf.
We are heading for a cave in the rocks. Yes, it was in the box,
said the professor. He held up the fuse.
Professor, slow down,
yelled Wilf.
We're going into a cave. Well, why didn't you say so?
Asked Professor Tangle.
We'd better slow down.
He pulled a lever and the submarine slowed down just in time. The submarine went into the cave. Professor Tangle put the new fuse in. All the lights came on. The cave shone and sparkled. There were diamonds all over the walls.
Diamonds! I'm rich,
said the professor. But you can't get at them, said Biff.
Oh, bother,
said Professor Tangle. Suddenly, the walls of the cave began to shake. Rocks and stones fell all around them.
We must get out,
said the professor.
Full speed ahead.
Oh no, we aren't going to make it, said Wilma. The submarine got out just in time. Phew, that was close, said Biff.
We're sorry you couldn't get the diamonds, Professor,
said Chip. Just then the key began to glow. The magic took them back to Biff's room.
That was a good adventure,
said Chip. We must go home for tea, said Wilma.
What's that?
Joked Wilf.
You want to go back to sea?